Hey guys, happy Monday, happy week, happy mid-April, if you will. Welcome to TGL and Grindhead Jim. We're going to talk about collecting today. Surprise, but you didn't know that. Collecting. Yep. How's everyone doing? I see a few people in chat here. I see Epic Badger, who's working remotely, can listen to the whole show. That's awesome. I'm always glad when you're around. You're insightful and fun, and I love you so much, buddy. Ian Sweeney's here from across the pond. Good evening, my friend. Good evening, my friend. Jason Garcia's here, says, yeah, boys. I agree. Now, Johnny, I have to address. I just have to address. He says, audacity of Jim. He's got that Spider-Man. You know, he got that Motu Castle, a giant dinosaur. Well, first of all, I have at least a dozen Spider-Men. I have at least 3 Motu Castles, maybe more. And I have 2 giant dinosaurs. So I say the audacity of you, sir. You're gonna call me out? Get your facts straight, buddy. But yeah, I'm pretty audacious. That's true. That's pretty true. Keith is in the house. Evening, sir. Good to see you. We're going to have you on the show soon. I'll have to message you. I always forget. Because what? Okay. A little inside baseball on the show, right? Most Mondays, I have a drink or two after the show to calm down. And then I forget. I'm sorry. Oh, my God. Ah! But that's fine. It's a thing. And a Bill Murray on Blu-ray? I have many of those, too, actually. I do. And a comic book or 2, and a video game or 3. Yeah, I'm pretty audacious. But I love you guys. Tonight's show is called Why Do We Do This? And it is about collecting in general. And I'll be setting this conversation up as we move along. But I do want to say right off the bat that as soon as we get out of pre-orders and currently available stuff, the panel she be open, okay? And members definitely get first serve. I asked a person or 2 specifically to come on if they could that are not members. But if they make it, great. If they can't, that's fine. But I would strongly encourage anyone who has access to go ahead and avail themselves of that. And if there's anyone who would like to hop on, just let me know, and I'll see what we can do about that, okay? So, because I do want this to be a group discussion if at all possible. If not, y'all know I can ramble for a long time about this stuff. So, it's up to you. In the meantime, let's get into pre-orders and so forth. So, you guys know, I don't really talk about Simpsons stuff, like, much at all. I really don't. But today, I'm going to talk about it. Let me show you something. So this is a 2.5-inch figure multi-pack. They've got some articulation. It's nothing crazy. The price is not breaking the bank. It's from Jakks Pacific, who by and large have pretty good stuff. Billy Wifta in the hizzy hizoo. Welcome to the show, my friend. But normally I wouldn't care about this little, what is it? 7-pack. But it's inclusive. Okay? It's inclusive. So I like that the whole family is here. But there's also a matching living room playset for the same price. Now, granted, you would end up with 2 Homers, I think, under this. It doesn't say it comes with, no, it does come with a Homer. But it's designed to have the whole family there. And my brain, I'm not sure if I want this. I haven't watched The Simpsons in a very long time. But I did watch The Simpsons for a very long time. I really liked that show. I love that family and what they meant for American culture. And because they're 2.5-inch scale, right? That playset can't be bigger than this. It's just a little thing. And it'd be perfect to put in a living room, like on a fireplace mantle or something. Lauren, if you're listening right now or in the future, I'm not suggesting we put this in our living room now. But it's just cool. I think it's nice. And it's like you get to represent an entire brand for less than $50 in a really fun, dioramic way. So if that appeals, I wanted to bring it up because it made me think. It made me think about it because it was like, oh, that is really freaking cool. So that's how we're starting the show today. But I want to catch up with you guys. Billy Wifta was just hanging out with a monkey lizard. So I saw. Hope it went well. Goji is working, so he can't come on, but I do this to fill the gaping black void in my soul. I understand. And I appreciate it. Stupid work. But I love you. I imagine you'll have some insight on this, and perhaps we will have a discussion about this in the near future. Who knows? Johnny Source says, quick, shovel on more toys to Goji's soul! Shovel, shovel, shovel. F that. Get a frickin' bulldozer and fill it full of toys for Goji's soul. That's what that is. It's a whole thing. Sorry, I just got a message from someone who I invited on that says they might be able to make it happen. They're not sure yet. Let's go back to these toys here, huh? So 1/18 scale Joy Toys, we've covered them in the past. They continue to impress me, though. Yes, they're $20 figures, but comparative to some of their brethren and competitors, like you get a bunch of accessories, you get exchangeable hands, you get a stand. These are very nice military figures. I wouldn't call them troop builders because of the price, but if you mix and match 118 anyway, these are a very nice option. I've always been impressed with them, for sure. Wilhelm says, hey, you guys! And I hope that he has the time. And anyone that's a member, I hope y'all can come on the panel today because this session is going to be fun. Logic Blaster says, great to see you, Jim. Hope all is well. I says, it's great to hear from you. I can't really see you, but it's nice to see your icon and your comments, and hope all is pretty well, man. I got to be awesome. Got to be awesome. Got to be honest. Billy Rift is like, I'm a member now. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Appreciate it. Didn't even realize it expired, but thank you. Thank you. And Andy, aka Mrs. World of Cardboard, says, watching and surfing Facebook. Watch out for Facebook sharks. Okay? Love you, Andy. And we need to get together for dinner, the four of us, again, sometime soon. And the houses that we are looking at, have been looking at, all the ones we like the most tend to be closer to your neck of the woods. So I'm just saying. Johnny hopes the guest is animal. He likes drums. My sister would love that. You know, for years, people have been after me about Animal, because I really liked Animal when I was a kid, and I didn't understand why necessarily. But he's a metalhead. I didn't know that at the time. He's a drummer. But then I actually got into playing drums, and if you're a drummer and you're Gen X or Gen Y in some cases, millennial, whatever, but Gen X especially, you never hear the end of this Animal shit. But I love Animal to death, and I love his action figure that I have of him. I can't wait to put those out. But spoilers, Johnny, he's not the guest. Just Jeff says that Joy Toy always nails it. I love what they've done. I really do. It's very cool. I've never had one in my hand, but you know. Yeah, you did tell me you were switching it. I just didn't realize that you had not. Awesome. We should. We'll go to some place a little bit better than where we went last time, which was fine, but there's better dining to be had in our necks of the woods. Robert's Infinite Robert's Infinite Realms is here. Says, hey there, Jim. Hope everything is good. It is. It really is. It's good to see you, pal. And then Jason Garcia with the ever timely woman times 3. Yes. So let's get back into this here. Fright Rags, which is, they've been around for a long time with horror merch. In general, I know of them pretty well in general. It's a vacuum form plastic mask. It's meant to kind of mimic that old Ben Cooper style. These are not, apparently they're not meant to be worn, which is like, okay. But they have, you know, Frankie here. They've got the Wolfman. And they've got Creature from Black Lagoon. And they're $20 a pop. Come in a little box. They're just fun. They're a nice cross sell on the back. But apparently there's a Mummy one as well. I did not see that up for pre-order, but that's cool. These are just fun. These are cool throwbacks to the time. And I agree, for $20 it should be wearable. I do. It just says it's just not intended to be worn unless you have a shrunken head. Because they're only 6 inches tall is what it is. They're little tiny guys. So what you're really paying for is the box. I think for $20 you'd get the mask and nothing else, and I think there was a compromise with whatever manufacturer they're using. But I like that it's small. For $20 you get a couple of them, you can display them real nice. I think it's fun, but I agree. I'd rather have a full-size mask that is potentially wearable. But that does get more expensive depending upon who you talk to. Yes, it should be full-size. I agree. Oh, Worldwide Corporate driving home now says, listening into the greatest show ever. You're so sweet to me, John. You're so sweet to me. Ian Sweeney says, I ordered the animatronic Lola droid from the Kenobi series just because I felt like it. And also it was under 18 pounds down from 90. Hey, that's not bad. You'll have to post some pictures and shit. Like, show me. I want to see what that looks like sometime. That's very cool sounding. I like animatronics. I like that. So this is a 1/12 scale. There's a bunch of stuff that came out from Little Armory for pre-order. I'm highlighting this one because you don't see a lot of mortar sets in any scale, let alone 1/12. And this is just a really fun, pretty damn accurate mortar set. I don't like the price very much, but it is an import, so I kind of understand. But it's just cool. This is like just a mortar set, and it's really neat. It's very neat. I like it very much. And the wife and I just watched Kong Skull Island yesterday, which is set in the Vietnam era, so it made me think of that, and I was like, oh, it's cool. So just be on the lookout for any of this Little Armory stuff that's out there, because there's a few really cool things that are up for grabs. Now, I don't know the scale of this at all. I'm guessing he's around this big. So probably 1/18th at best. It's a Majungasaurus, the major. He's got electronics, he roars and whatnot. Yeah, he's a big boy. He's got some great movement. He actually, there's a little dial here, you can make him move. So if you want a dinosaur in your collection that, would display well and looks nice for 20 bucks, that ain't bad. It really isn't bad. I'm not saying 1/12 is better than 1/18th. I didn't say that. I'm saying there's 1/12. Never mind. I like all scales. They're all good. Johnny Soros was saying that the mask should fit an action figure at least for that price. I agree. They're just cool, guys. They're just cool. You don't have to get them, But, and same thing with this dinosaur. Like, it might work, it might not. These dinos have a dial in. Now you can keep the mouth open. Yes. Although on my gigantic dinosaurs, they open and they stay that way. Which, that's fun. But I don't see anything in the description or on the box that would, indicate their relative size. But I'm guessing they're probably around this big altogether. So they're not, super colossal. But I would imagine that that they're a nice size for a decent price. And Robert, backing me up, thank you, by the way, says, I'm grabbing up these JP and Jurassic World dinos on clearance. They're cool. There you go. And Melvor says, pterodactyls will take you away. No more dinosaurs for you. I hate, look. I have a pterodactyl. Hasn't taken me anywhere. All right? I'm fine. Also, how are you, Melvor? It's good to see you, buddy. Really good to see you. So those of you that dabble in the old Voyager class Transformers, or maybe you're looking for an excuse to get one, or I just want Optimus Prime, guess what? So I am dubbing this year the year that I become a real collector. I was Pinocchio before, and now I am a real boy. Because finally, this year, they are reissuing toys that I bought 3 years ago. Or that are older than that I have. So, I got a Voyager class Optimus Prime last year. And then I also got the Volvo Prime that came with the trailer that's the same as what's in this package. So you get, for 55 bucks, you get regular old Earthrise Voyager class Prime with a nice paint job, and you get his trailer. You get the whole thing, the whole kit and caboodle. All right? So if for some reason you don't have an Optimus Prime in Voyager scale, or you want one, or you need the trailer, here's another chance to get that and have it all in one nice package. What can I say? This is a great Prime. It harkens back to the days of old, but it's got that modern look. He's really sleek. It's very posable. You've got your matrix of leadership and everything. Like, there's nothing not to like about this guy. I'm just saying. But this is a reissue. It looks, like I said, very, very fun, and you should check it out if there's any desire for you to have a full-blown Optimus Prime for your collection. Okay. I'm gonna pare down some of these so I don't lose my place. Jason Garcia says, you find a pterodactyl that can carry me, he can have me. I'm with you. Jason, I'm with you on that one, actually, buddy. And Billy Whipton says, I call BS. You were always a real collector. Thank you. I appreciate that. There was a time when it felt like I was a novice and didn't really know anything. And although that was true to a degree, I picked it up pretty fast. And I'll get into that a little bit later, which is kind of part and parcel to this conversation I want to have. We're about halfway through all of our stuff, so we're still in the pre-orders here. I saw these and I thought these are really cool. These are retro toy Star Wars Darth Vader playing cards. So they're playing cards of the Kenner figures. Like, what? how cool is that? Like, isn't that great? And they're $10. That's nothing for something this with this nice of printing on it and everything. Come on. Like, you know you want these. I pre-ordered them. Don't you want them? Matter of fact, I'm gonna leave that open so I don't forget. I think I already did, but I'll have to double check. Also, there's a couple mugs that are out because of the new movie. Nice Deadpool mug and a nice Wolverine mug. And coffee mugs of comic book characters I absolutely love. He says they look bridge size, I want poker size. So what they're saying is that they're a unique size. They're 2 and 3. Let me just remove this. 2.3 inches by 4.3 inches. So yeah, they're a bit smaller for sure. But I'm with you. I get it. Ian says, Jim, during that dyno review, you said that the dyno was 118 at best. Oh, in terms of a relative scale. Relative scale. Yeah, they are a bit small, but they're nice. So I still want them. I can't help it. And these coffee mugs are nice. I'm tempted by these coffee mugs, to be honest. I did pre-order the Wolverine one. Because we're always using mugs. We use mugs at a rate now that I've never used them in my life. Because for the last several years, prior to meeting Lauren, I had kind of I have an insulated mug that I use, and I have a coffee mug I would drink out of. So I'd kind of like take the coffee, put it in there, cream it, and then everything's kind of hot, boom, and I would just drink coffee like that. But I would never use more than one mug a day, and I'd rinse it out right away usually, and that would be it. But I have tons of mugs, and, I think that's the intent, Ian, that the pictures on the cards are almost the same scale as the original figures, and that makes some sense to me. Bill needs big cards before Miracles with. I don't think you want to do what you have to do to some of these cards to make that happen, but, cards for Smurfs, so they'd fit perfect in your hand, huh? I'm so funny today. But yeah, so we use mugs a lot more now. So I'm getting to that place where I'm like, well, we need a couple more mugs in this house. So this is a nice thing. Scarlet Spider, weirdly enough, is still up for pre-order, which is nice. So again, if you're missing him and you want him, this is your chance. Now, next up, Lauren and I both, we already have the original Lemmy from Super 7. He looks great, love him to death. This is an 81 tour variant. I think the base is a different color, the heads are a little bit different. But otherwise comes with all the same types of stuff. So I think it's just a question of which version of Lemmy you want. I'm not pre-ordering this. We got the Lemmy we wanted. We're happy. Yes, Retro Carded Scarlet is in stock on Amazon now. I got the notification this morning. I'm probably gonna just wait out the Big Bad Toy Store shipment for the simple fact that stuff will come in at the same time. So I'm going to move into some stuff that you guys are going to be happy to see, I hope. Here is a 1/10 scale open mouth Velociraptor statue. You'll see. For $145. But you statue fans, I've still got you. Here is a Gremlins 2 flasher prop. 30 inches. It's hand-painted, made of rubber and latex. The trench coat is soft goods, and the glasses are removable, which is nice. But he's $325. Now, you statue people, I got you covered today. Boy, do I have you covered. Life-size Deadpool foam figure. Life-size. The real deal. Over 6 foot tall. Rubber and latex, hand-painted. Ships in 2 boxes on a pallet via freight delivery only. So he's real big. $1,679.99. So y'all want some statues, I brought some statues. All right? So y'all think I don't think about you with these statues. Think again. I thought of you. That's just how it is. Enjoy that. Enjoy that. I'm going to catch up with you guys, and then we'll get into just a couple things that are in stock that we haven't talked about before. Ian Sweeney had to retire his Clark Kent Superman heat change mug due to minor damage. It's now on my Superman shelf with a Gujitsu Armored Spider-Man in it. Nice! Waiting for a Peter Steele. That would be nice. I would love to have Peter Steele. If they do Peter Steele, they should do a typo negative version and a carnivore version. If they do a carnivore version of Peter Steele, I'm all in on that for sure. Johnny has that gremlin. It's 1-to-1 scale. Perfect. For that price. Because I passed. Too expensive. And film accurate. Good Lord. Yep. Yeah, Robert. Definitely some pricey stuff. We don't condone that, definitely, around here. But there's a tradition around here you may know of that people like to see that crap. I would not want a real fucking gremlin for that money. For no money do I want a real fucking gremlin. They're horrible. A Mogwai? Maybe. Maybe. Jason Garcia says, foam means you can poke holes in it. Happy International Women's Day, honey. There you go. There you go. Be fun. Youngest daughter would love that. That's awesome. Cody says, for that price, that Deadpool should come with a free year of Mint Mobile. You know what? I agree with that, to be perfectly honest. Bill Hewlett says, thanks, Jim. That takes care of my need to see stuff I can't buy. I'm here for you. I'm here for you. And some aviation gin to go with the... Yeah, I get you. Need some old Burger King glasses. I have some. I need more. But I wouldn't drink coffee out of them, weirdo. He says, fair point, Jim, but we have cats, which are just gremlin agents. Exactly. You just wait till we have cats in this house, man. You just wait. It's coming. Johnny says, Keith can have the bat gremlin chasing around the house. I mean, if it flew, like for $300, if you could like put it on a wire and the wings would flap and you could like, it would go in a circle or something, like some kind of motorized setup like that, that might be worth the money for me if it's a bat gremlin, or if he went with the thing, if there was like an action or something, that might be worth it. But if he just sits there, not so much. Gremlins and pterodactyls in cahoots, don't trust them. And Steve will take an AMC gremlin. There you go. So let's get into some of these, not pre-orders, but you could buy them right now kind of things. This is a great white shark Kaitai puzzle, which means you can open it up and there's guts in it and whatnot, which is really cool. That's not why I like it. I like it because of its relative size. It's about 6 1/3 inches long, and it has a very nice resemblance to Bruce the Shark for $17. So if you want a shark that is in a relatively close scale, you know, he's just smaller, like a baby great white shark for that price, you can't beat that. He doesn't have any lasers or anything. I know some of you fuckers are going to say it, but it's a nice shark. And I'm like, I kind of want a shark. I kind of want a shark in my life. So if you do, $16 will get it for you. A bunch of these Saurosauric warriors, a whole wave came in over the weekend. So this particular one I just thought was kind of cool. It's Stasi Akiden, Samurai Ankylosaur, Wave 2. These are cool looking figures. I think that they're wonderful for the size. And if you like them, get them. Not for me at this point, not right now. But they're beautiful, and it's worth seeing. Also, they have Tombstone on a retro card, which is great. It's a great figure. If you don't already have a Tombstone, I think I have him from a few waves back, but he looks pretty. He's in stock right now if you need a Tombstone, for sure. So you got that going for you. Ratchet, I know I've gone over this, but this is more to remind me. I had to bookmark this because I'm like, I need this Ratchet. So I need to go back and get it. Because I have Prowl and I have Ironhide, but I don't have Ratchet. So I need to make sure that I don't forget to get him before he's gone. So it's as much for me as anyone else. It's one of those Autobots that if you want one, it's easy to forget. Now, this is the big kahuna of currently available. Those of you that are into your 1/18th scale, those of you that have watched this channel, I've gone over this toy twice. The Fleischer Mechanical Monsters Superman 1941 5 points deluxe box set. From $80 is down to $50, $47.99. You get this diorama, you get Superman, you get the robot, you get Clark Kent, you get Lois Lane, you get the phone booth, and it has the rotate thing just like that unproduced Superpowers thing. This is a very, very, very well done set. Mezco always does a great job with their 5-point sets. It's just a lot of fun. And now that it's down to like under $50, I am tempted. I probably won't get it, but I am tempted. I am sorely tempted to get this. I wanted to point this out when I saw it was on sale. Apparently they've gotten another shipment in and they've lowered the price. This is still under their new arrivals. They must have gotten more and they're selling them for 40% off. So I think it's definitely worth it if you like that sort of thing. So if you're on the fence about it, now might be the time to pull the trigger. Keith says, yes, have that bat grab in the garden to scare the shit out of my neighbors. I'm like, there you go. Just Jeff about the shark says, no lasers, no thank you. Ian says, not my scale, but they announced a comic-accurate Marvel Legends Iron Fist complete with tiny shoes on the Hasbro stream today. Saw the pics on Robo's channel. Yes. I saw those pictures this morning as well. I was waiting to see more of it. I want to see the packaging, and they didn't show that. It's going up for pre-order 8 days from now, so I'm sure we'll be going over that next week. If not, remind me, because that set is awesome. Because you have the Luke Cage Power Man that came out in the Legends line, the Marvel Knights Legends line, which I love. It's him in costume, but then the new one is comic accurate. You get your Iron Fist as well, plus you get a street clothes Luke Cage. So I'm like, I gotta have that. Gotta have that. Moore says, laser sharks for you? No, laser sharks for you, sir. Johnny Sorensen says, I really wanted this line, but the shipping made it impossible. Could go with the Ninja Turtles and stuff. Yeah, those Saurozoic Warriors definitely have a scale that works really well with that stuff. And yes, Wilhelm, I did say 118. Of course I did. I always talk about 118 on this show, just not as often as some of us, including myself, would like. Just loves the Superman set. It's great. I agree. I'm again very tempted, but we have 3 shelves. It's going to be more than that soon of superpower stuff. I don't know if I need more 4-inch Superman stuff. Very tempted to get this set. Yeah, I saw today that I have the Batman animated series Mezco 5-point set on order. It's got like 5 figures or 6 figures, and then the Batmobile. I probably won't end up with it, but yes, if you say 1/18th scale 3 times in a mirror, Wilhelm appears. That's for sure. I haven't seen any pictures of the Danny Ghost Rider yet. And I agree, Robert, we need more 1/18th in this world. Although I would say that with all the different boutique lines that are coming out, we're getting closer and closer to it. I wouldn't say 100% equal footing, but damn close. It's a lot better than it was 3 years ago when I started collecting, that's for sure. Definitely a lot better than it used to be. So let me just close a few windows here. All right. So I want to just let everyone know that's watching. If you are a member of the channel, we're going to be moving towards the panel here in just a few moments. So go grab your links. If you're a YouTube member, it's going to be on the community page. If you're a Patreon member, it's going to be on the Patreon page, and the tag on the Patreon page is TGL panel, make your life a little bit easier. But we will be having that going here soon. And I'm going to go ahead and get my headphones on now so that I can make this happen for you guys a bit smoother than I normally do. So today's show is called Why Do We Do This? And it talks about collecting in general. And the hobbies too. You know, Destiny could very easily be considered a hobby. And it's just one of those things where there's so many different pursuits one could take that fall into this thing where it takes up time, it takes up money, sometimes it takes up space. So the overarching question we're here to ask today is why we would subject ourselves to this. All right, so I'll start with me. I've got a video game collection, as you guys know. I've got a film collection. I've got a physical media music collection, both CD and vinyl, even some tapes, and obviously a lot of toys. And the toys being the most recent, but also approaching one of the biggest. It's not because movies take up a little bit less space. Because I've got those are in the thousands at this point, or up to 1,000 coming up on, I think, something like that. And music's not far behind, but toys are really quickly catching up to everything. And all this stuff that I love, it all takes up space, and displaying things properly, keeping them maintained, that costs money. Again, the space is always an issue. There's stress, like depending on what one collects. If you're a vintage collector versus a modern collector, or like me, a crisscross of both, the chasing aspect can be fun. The chasing aspect can be stressful. It's kind of all over the shop. And you see people arguing about this stuff. You see people making friends and chosen family over the stuff. So again, it continues to be this question of why? Why would we do this? And given that I already have someone in the panel, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to our panel screen and bring my first guest of the panel in. We'll bring more in as they come in. But I would like to welcome Wilhelm Toy and Hobby to the show. Can you hear me, sir? There you go. You can hear me now, I bet. Sir, can you hear me? Papa, can you hear me? Can you hear me? They can't hear me.
Sorry, Jim. I was just muting your YouTube feed. I apologize.
Okay. You can hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. I just can't see you.
I'll work on that here. Hang on.
Okay.
There you go.
Oh, now I can see you. That's very cool. It's a lot easier when I can see your fuzzy face.
Yes.
But yeah, I really liked this comment that I just saw from Jason.
We're all dragons and need our horde of shinies.
Yes. For years, I told myself, it's not a problem. They're all just jealous of your horde. Keep hoarding more. And, it's partially true. Why do we do this? Why do I do this? I don't know. It goes back long before I had any friends who did it, and long before, I had any validation from a community that also did what I did. So how is it that so many of us, through our enjoyment of this, we went through a phase where maybe we stopped playing with our toys, but we still walked down that toy aisle.
Yep.
To, like I said, my personal journey was just that I had adult money. I discovered a KB Toys, in a strip center by a job I was on. I was on my lunch and I walked in there and I was like, so many toys for such a small amount. surely these are public benefactors. I must buy them all. And I just left with 2 giant bags of Toy Biz Marvel X-Men stuff because I didn't even know they made so many characters. I was like, oh yes, I'll take them all. And I remember that day, and I went home and I hung them all on my wall, and I just felt wonderful. And that's why I do it. It makes me feel good. And I've continued to do that. I've put it aside. I've picked it back up, but it always makes me feel good getting a new toy, enjoying it, just looking at it, even knowing that it's in a storage box in my garage still brings me joy. Not as much joy, but some of it. Personally, it makes me happy. I don't know why other people do it. Maybe they do it for they're collecting for profit. I don't know. It's never really been my thing.
Certainly speculative has always been something that I think some folks I think have gotten to this place where they think that it's the next big market, which I don't think that that's necessarily true. It's true of certainly of many many toys out there, but I don't think that it should be the driving force behind it.
Sure, but certainly. I've bought 2 of something because I thought it was going to be maybe I'd save one for later. I've done that here and there, but most of my motivation is just the feeling I get. Sometimes if I don't go toy shopping for a really long time, I get this urge and I act upon it, where I'm driving home from work and I'm like, why don't I just take a detour and go check out some discount stores or something like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just something where I kind of feel like I think everyone has a different kind of a reason behind it, but I think at the end of the day, most people are probably going to echo your sentiment in that it brings joy. This is fun for me. This is something I want to do. I think that although that's the most common answer, I think it's also probably the easiest answer.
Yeah.
Not to take anything away from what you're saying, because I'm the same way. Like for me, it goes slightly deeper. Hey.
Oh, very cool.
But sin remains.
I forgot that the Patreon thing is different.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, you got that
nice.
set up. So when someone joins, it shows it on screen. That's awesome.
Yeah, Robert, thank you very much, man, for joining the Patreon. I think he's going to have something to say. And I mean, I don't know if you guys know the secret or not, but like part of the reason the TGL panel exists is to drive membership, so that y'all can commune. And by the way, I missed the scheduled chat for April last week. I didn't actually schedule one, but like I have a calendar reminder that calls me a bad boy if I don't have one. And so
it's been a while.
Yeah, we're gonna have one this weekend for sure. Come hell or high water, we're gonna have one, and I'll announce that on Patreon and on the YouTube community page here. Well.
And just for anyone that doesn't know, those are really fun. So every month, like clockwork, without fail, Jim hosts a hangout. It's offline. We don't stream it. Everyone just joins in, and we're just a bunch of dudes hanging out, having fun. I mean, chicks are allowed too. I'm sorry. It could be dudes and dudettes hanging out, showing off our stuff, and talking about whatever we want to talk about. Sometimes the conversations get pretty deep, and oftentimes it goes well beyond the allotted time, and we go real late into the night. And we've had some really long sessions. We've, other sessions are not so, but it's definitely worth it. And it's a really fun way to engage. Like I said, as much as it is fun interacting with the chat, it is so much better just interacting with a bunch of bros or your buddies face to face. It really is great.
And knowing that it's not recorded, it's not streaming anywhere, you can just let loose and just talk about whatever's on your mind. I have had some fairly legendary blow-ups during those things, where like things that are bothering me, I'll just start going,
Yeah,
So
some of them have leaked into the show, but most of them stay right where they are, and it's a great time. So if you really want to get that community experience, and I will say, granted, Gym Hangout is when I first felt that I belonged in this community. So for those out there, thank you, to Jim for doing this. It's a really great thing. What? Why you got that face on? It's the truth.
I don't like, dude. Like you're like, when I think of a toy collector, you're kind of the guy I think of. You know what I mean?
But like I said, I used to just kind of just dabble in the chats every once in a while, and it wasn't until, like I said, you create that platform, the community building really happened during those hangouts.
I appreciate that, man. And also, I should mention that he's not on the payroll, but it was a really good descriptor. But no, thank you. I appreciate that. And toy collecting, I got into it so late, so I have a bit of an inferiority complex when it comes to me as a collector. And I know that Will knows this because he's heard me talk about it before. And it's just kind of like once I got the display up, I was like, okay, now they will accept me, even though probably some of the very best collectors that this community has to offer have already become chosen family and shit. Like not to put Will on the spot, but there's been several times where I pulled him aside after a couple beers and I said, "Why don't you move to DFW, dude? Why don't you move out here and we can hang out?"
Think about it. I know.
You should, because it's especially as we're looking at houses now, like the pricing is coming to this like reasonable place.
Yeah, it is definitely an option right now because I look towards the future and definitely finding somewhere else, and that is one of the places that I keep coming back to. So without a doubt.
Well, anyway, not to make this about you moving to Dallas, though you should. The community that we built together 3 years ago and continue to build has done a lot to make me feel like a real boy, like I said. And because I have a video game collection, it's not the biggest, but it is big enough to where dyed-in-the-wool video game collectors like Squiggles, you'll see him in chat sometimes. He's local, and he comes over every other week pretty much. He's here for a couple hours, and I'll throw this out there because Lauren keeps bringing it up, and I think it's funny. The last time he was here, we got to drinking, and around 3 or 4 in the morning, she comes out to get a midnight snack or fill up her water or something, and she sees the two of us just passed out on different couches. She's like, "Oh, you had a sleepover."
That's great.
Yeah, but he's a very serious game collector. That's how we met. He follows the Game Chasers and stuff. We met at that Retropalooza, and we've been friends for a while. Johnny says, "I don't see the link on Patreon." Okay. Let me see if I can pin that real quick in Patreon for you. We'll get there. But he's like, "I like this collection," and people always will like go to the music stuff and like, "Jesus, you have a lot of CDs." I'm like, "Well, yeah, I don't throw them away." But for some reason with toys, it was just kind of I decided that I wanted that representation of my childhood, of that nostalgia, of things that just really brought me joy, and it is something that I think is really fun. Johnny, if you go to the Patreon page and just under the search bar, just type panel, the first thing that should come up, it'll say new TGL panel, Video Ninja. Should come right up for you. I don't see a way
I'm
that
sending
I can
him a
pin this.
message right now.
Oh, wait, no, I can pin it. Here we go. I'm pinning it to the top of the page. So now it should be at the top. So either way, same thing. And plus, I can send him one if it doesn't work too. Yep.
Johnny. All right.
Yeah, so we should get stuff taken care of.
Yeah,
got a
I
lot of
actually,
cougars in DFW. Yes.
yeah, video games too. I've got a video game collection. I've never really got into it or shown it, and I used to have it all displayed, and that was my thing for the longest time. So I do look forward to moving to a place where I could have those separate places, because I don't think they all, I definitely need a section for my games though. Got
Yeah,
a lot of cool
there's
stuff.
this house we were looking at just before I came on, and there's more of these in Dallas Fort Worth than I thought, but it's a split entry. So you walk in
Okay.
and you got the upstairs, you got the downstairs. If you go
Mhm.
downstairs, one side is a nice den, and then what is meant to be a master bedroom with a master bath and a walk-in closet. Then the whole other side of the house is a converted garage that's finished, and it's just a
Yeah.
huge game room kind of a thing.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Totally get Batcave vibes from that. That'd be awesome.
absolutely. Let me see here where I can move this. There we go. And now Bill's here. Ha ha ha!
Hey, Bill, how are you?
Why do we subject ourselves to this? Why? Why do we subject ourselves to this? Why do we become hoarders? Why do we fill rooms and rooms and rooms up with all this shit? It's because we love it. That's why. And we want all of it. And we don't want anybody else to have our shit. We want to keep it for ourselves and love it and hug it and squeeze it and call it George. And that's what I do with mine.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that's awesome. I'm gonna widen this just a little bit. And Robert is here as well. Welcome, my friend.
Hey, buddy, how's it going?
How
It's
are
going
you?
good. Welcome to the show.
Yeah.
And welcome to the patron community. Welcome to all kinds of fun stuff. You just opened a whole world of whoop ass. That's what you did.
A larger step, a giant step into a larger world.
That's right. Taking a first
I
step
do have
into a
to ask
larger
you a
world.
question,
Yes.
Jimbo. I
Yes,
gotta
sir.
ask you a question, Jimbo. I know how you're getting the overlays to show, the super chats, and I know how you're getting the overlays to show
Sure.
when people join on YouTube. But how are you doing that with Patreon? Is it the same way? Are you using Streamlab or are you using Stream Element?
Streamlabs.
All right, I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah, I've had it for forever. Wilbur Cardboard is super stoked that he hears Wilhelm. He's about to get super stoked because he just heard Bill, and now he's hearing Robert. So, since you guys, in order of joining, so Bill, Will and I have already talked about kind of where we're coming from, not in a huge depth, but just to give you, it brings us joy. For me, it's a nostalgia trip as well. What is it
Yeah.
for you? And then we'll hit Robert up after that.
It's a nostalgia trip, to be honest, Jim. And my wife, she understands to a certain degree, but she doesn't understand why it's got to be on the scale that it is. And I can understand that because, like you said, I look at my junk hoard. What did it start with? Why did I start this? Well, that's the question to start with. Did I have toys already? Yes, I had a few left over from when I was a kid that survived to this day, and I have a few of them. You have a few of them now because I shared them with you, Jim.
Mm-hmm.
But what did I want to do? Well, it all started, I guess, several years ago when I said, there's toys out there that I want that I never had when I was a kid. I wanted them when I was a kid. Mom either couldn't or didn't buy them for me, and I understand that times were tough back then. I wanted Shogun Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
So I got Shogun Warriors because I didn't have those big ones when I was a kid. What did I have? What did Mama buy me? This is what Mama bought me. This is left over from when I was a kid. Okay, this is what Mama
Still
bought me.
cool. Still
It's
cool.
still cool as hell, but it
Yeah.
ain't as big as them jumbos back there. No sirree.
Yeah.
Them jumbo machinders are huge. So I wanted my jumbo machinders. And then I said, well, I always wanted Rom the Space Knight because when I bought that #1 comic book, on the back was the ad for the toy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The ad was like 15 billion times better than the shitty toy ever was. But I got that toy just because I always wanted it, and it's right over there. Okay. And then That was my hero. He was, if there ever was a man who had a superpower to be able to heal himself at record speed, it had to be one person, Evil Knievel. I had to get Evil Knievel and his stunt cycle and his scramble van and all that shit. And then I went and got that. And I was lucky because at the time that bug bit me, those prices weren't outrageous on eBay. They were pretty reasonable for decent figures.
Sure. Yeah.
And
1 second, guys. I have to refresh the thing here. My apologies. Here we go.
Sure. Good. Yeah.
sure.
Hey, Bill. You know, I don't want to interject here. I know this is your story, but wasn't there a sea monkey uprising that you had to quell before, and then you said, "I'm going to start just collecting toys. It's a lot easier than these sea monkeys taking over."
You're conflating events, my friend.
Okay.
The sea monkeys was a total different thing than the toys. You know,
Yeah.
I have a love of comics. I don't know if you guys know that.
Of course, yeah.
Never heard of it.
But the problem is, I'm warped. Okay, it's not the superheroes in the comics that I care about. It's those stupid ads that are in there. The ones that I fell for every time. You control Ghost. Oh, I can control the Ghost? Yes, with the secret control that you have only in your pocket. So my $1.25 went to buy this. I waited and I waited and I waited and I waited until I forgot all about it. And then the package came in the mail. And it was a flat envelope about yay big. Now, how can the You Control Ghost be in there? Maybe the package is bigger on the inside than it is the outside. No. There's a balloon with a picture of Casper on it, a piece of plastic garbage bag, a string, and a button. You blow the balloon up, you put the plastic bag over it, you tie the string to the plastic bag, and you stick the button on the string, and the button goes in your pocket. And the button is secret control. Ugh, foiled again. But I fell for this shit every time. All right, so the sea monkeys are another thing that were on the back of the comic books. And my daughter and I were discussing the fact that they looked like little people living in castles. And I said, well, they actually do exist, but they don't look like that. And she said, sea monkeys are not real, Daddy. That's just a figment of their imagination. And so we went to Toys R Us, which was real at that time and did exist. And we bought a sea monkey galleon kit. And she and I raised a colony of sea monkeys. And I made a web page to document this. And that was in the early 2000s or the late 90s. I can't remember now because I've gotten to be 54 years old and I suffer from CRS. But
Can't remember shit.
needless to say, sometime around 2011, 2012, 2013, I was perusing a local toy store, and there was a sea monkey basic kit with an ocean zoo in there. And I said, that might be fun to do at work because work's boring, and I can have a sea monkey kit on my desk, and it'll, cause conversation. So I started raising sea monkeys at work, and this led to me buying another kit for the house, and then digging up the old kits that I had from back before and starting all these different sea monkey experiments. Oh God, I'm taking your show over, Jim. I'm sorry. And I ran off Robert. Sorry. Anyway, so here I go documenting these new sea monkey experiments on this blog, and then my mother decided that she was going to cook supper in the kitchen, and I had mistakenly left the sea monkeys in there so they could get some of that beautiful sunlight. Well, she cooked my sea monkeys from the convection heat coming off of the oven, and she killed every damn one of them, the murderous woman. But anyway, that was the end of the sea monkeys, and so I thought, well, what am I going to do with my blog? Well, I can do comics, which I did, and then I could do comic ads, which I did, and then I looked around me, and there's all these freaking toys everywhere in here. Now, what should I really be doing a blog about? I thought to myself, and I kept looking at the mantelpiece, and I kept looking behind me on these shelves, and I said, there's got to be something in here.
He re-raised a
Yeah,
colony of
right.
sea monkeys and experimented on them is the start of a supervillain origin story. You're not wrong.
You're definitely not wrong. You're definitely not wrong there.
Weird, fantastic toy oppression is more like it.
Thank you. But anyway, so it finally occurred to my brain that maybe I should cover what I've got most of here, toys. So that's when the toy blog became the toy. That's when it went from Bill's Sea Monkey blog to Bill's toy blog, which didn't sound very good, and then it suddenly became Weird Fantastic Toy Adventures when I finally figured out, what am I really doing here? I'm taking pictures of these toys and these dioramas, doing these funny things, and putting them out there to entertain people. That is a weird and a fantastic toy adventure, right? So that's where the idea came from. So there's my story. I've told it twice. Go watch the Monkey Lizard. I was on there earlier. Go rewatch that. There you go.
Yes,
Sorry,
indeed.
Jim.
All right. So, and yeah, a lot of us know that story for sure, but it's always fun to hear. Fun side note, those of you probably been around a while know, I used to use Bill's blog on superpowers as reference to, do I have all the parts? Am I missing something? Did I forget something? You know, and then he randomly, probably through the superpowers, I think, it got, found me. So we kind of found each other and then came together as one, as friends. It's the whole thing. It's fun.
Yeah, that
Anyway.
was interesting. Actually, what happened was, Jim, I was just, this was right at the end or maybe during the coup. I can't remember when
This
Toy
would
Channel-
have been summer, fall 2021.
Right. It's when toy channels are exploding. Now Grindhead Jim channels have been around for a long time. I didn't know this then, but he'd been around for a while doing Twitch and this and that and the other. But at that time, I think you'd started to collect the superpowers. And
Yes.
I just said, who is this Grindhead Jim guy? I'm gonna watch this toy grinds thing. So I turn it on, and here's this little man sitting in his small room in his house, gushing about his brand new obsession with collecting vintage superpowers. And I thought, okay, maybe this guy's pretty cool after all. Let me check him out here. And so I started watching his show. And then this was when I figured out that you could actually interact with the person on the screen with the live chat. See, this was a new thing to me. But anyway, so one day Jim's sitting there and he's not talking about superpowers today. He's talking about something else. I forget what. Anyway, I got on the screen. I said, let me ask this guy how his superpowers collection is going. But we haven't heard from him in a while about that. And I said, how's the superpowers collection going, Jim? And he looks at the screen. And he goes, oh, hey, yeah, my superpower, blah, 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 blah. And he starts telling me about where he gets along at on the superpowers collection. And then I started interacting with him more and more on the Toy Grinds Live. And that's when suddenly you could see it when it happened that day. It went, he goes, wait a minute. I know who you are. You run that blog, Weird Fantastic Toy Adventures, where I found out all about my superpower stuff from. I'm like, oh, you've heard of that? Ha.
Small world collecting. So I think I think a lot of people probably don't realize how small it is, even though there's so many people that collect. But when it comes to like people that want to talk about it and want to be a part of that community beyond going to a show and buying toys, because doing as many conventions as I've done, you see a lot of cool people. They have a lot of cool things to say. But for every Dolls Not Drugs, aka Jamie, who's a Patreon member now, or YouTube member, I forget which one he did. He did Patreon. I met him at Retropalooza. We talked Motu Origins for about 10 minutes. He bought some toys for parts from me. I gave him all my socials, and then he followed on everything, and he's been in chat a lot and everything. For every one of him, there's 1,000 other people that will only interact with you in person, and they go off and their collections is very private. They're their little thing. So I think it's interesting to me. Chad says, yo, what's the discussion? Space Herbies? We're asking, what do we get out of this? Now, I did invite Chad to the discussion. I don't want to put him on the spot, but I do want to say, if you do want to join, I will send you a link in a matter of moments. if you would like to do so. Before I do that, I would love to finally hear from Robert.
I'm sorry.
Finally, like no
Damn it, Bill.
disrespect to anyone else, but so what is your main reason for collecting? Like what keeps you going? Like what gets it going for you?
It's kind of weird because I never really stopped collecting.
Mhm.
I mean, I stopped 1987. That year Cobra Law came out for GI Joe. That stopped me for about 8 months. And
You
then,
dislike Burgess Meredith that much?
No, I like Burgess Meredith. I just didn't like the turd shaped Mr. Hanky figure.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, but I got back into it when I saw the commercial with Shockwave and Storm version 2 Storm Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
Stayed with Joe all the way up to the end. Hopped on Toy Biz and Star Wars, and stayed with that. And kept going and going and going. I've never stopped. I've slowed down, but I've never stopped collecting. And I don't know. I just enjoy certain things. Like I love superheroes. I love, little skeleton dudes. And
You're a big fan of the dollies. You love your dollies.
Yeah, I mean, I really never got into 6-inch other than Marvel Legends for a long time, and then like Action Force came by and Animal Warriors, and yeah, that's been a new rabbit hole. But
yeah, but there were decades where we didn't really share this with others like we do now, with the ability to share it through the magic of YouTube and the internets and stuff like that. So
you see, that's funny to me too, because I always was very open about it.
Yeah, sure.
And I was like, if you think I'm weird, that's your problem, not mine.
Yeah. Yeah. People would walk in. I had them hanging up all over the walls and everything, and people would just be like, "What's this?" Don't worry about that.
I got brothers that have come over to the house in my club that I'm in, and they'll look at the stuff and they'll go, "Do you sell this stuff?" And I'm like, "No."
Not on a bet, man.
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm in an office, I always have like some stuff on my desk, like maybe doubles of something I have, or I mean, something that if somebody were to do something, I would be like, well, I've already got it at home, I'm fine.
And that's kind of like I work remotely, and it was a weird transition point for me, where now I'm at a point where I collect for the collection room. I also collect for what will eventually be a separate office, which I promised myself I would do, because one thing I didn't anticipate was working in this room when things would go south on a given work day, or even like I associate this room with work more than I should. So it's kind of like I've decided, okay, these types of toys are going to go into a bit more of a formal display for an office that is there, but the toy room can be its own sanctuary kind of a thing. But I do have, like, for example, like my Star Wars stuff, all the 1/18 scale stuff is going to...
Hey!
Whoa, it's Chad! All the 1/18 stuff will be in the toy room, but then the... like my Black Series Star Wars, like all my Mezco 6-inch stuff, that's going to be in a more formal display for an office. So I can't get away from it completely, but like certain toys end up in certain places and whatnot. And I don't know how many people do that, because I know people that have toys or video games or whatever in every freaking room.
I do want to mention, when you asked the question, what do we get out of this? I saw a comment when you first posted that, Jim, I think over on Patreon. I think Boba Hicks had the best comment. And he said, what did I get out of this, out of collecting? He said, well, it's the friends I made along the way.
I agree with that.
And that was such a great comment, and I just wanted to bring it up. I'm sorry.
That is a good one.
No, it's perfect. It's a good one, for sure. We lost Chad for a moment. Hopefully he'll come back. Chad's wall got real close all of a sudden, freaking out. Yeah, Johnny. While Chad is off camera, I'll call him out a little bit. He had a video went out today about this USS Flag custom mask that he did, and
Oh, yeah.
he
I love that.
simultaneously channeled Bob Ross, Toy Polloi, Retro Blasting, and then like your favorite art teacher with a military edge. It's like all of this in one thing, and like ever since retirement, my man's getting bold. He's got like he's got the corner for his background now, which is freaking great and everything. It's awesome. It's really cool. But I definitely want to comment on what Boba Hicks said, because that's definitely a huge part of it, that the community kind of not drove me to collect, but I was already wanting to collect. I'd always wanted to collect, but then the community kind of pushed me over the edge. So I think his comment is very poignant. And Mr. Chad, sir, if in case you can't tell, you're on screens. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
How are we?
We are great. And we were just gushing over your new background / display, and I was kind of inferring that this is a product of your recent retirement. You're like, I got time to work on all kinds of crap, and I want to do this now.
I mean, yeah, but I've been working on this for a little while. I wanted a different space that wasn't so cavernous as that previous view, because it was all the way across a 2-car garage. And
Sure.
yeah, I wanted something that was a little closer. I always felt too spaced out.
I mean,
And
you're
then with
space
this,
case
I
for
can,
sure.
I can change things around. So, I don't really do reviews. But if I was going to do a review, I could put something in here or stand it up right here, and whatever. It's a little more multi-role. But I apologize, I had to bail for a second. I just got my.
Is that your DD214? It's DD214
Certified
day.
mail. So, yep.
Happy DD214 day, Chad.
Yep.
Congrats.
Dude. When you start live streaming, you hope that you'll have moments that people will remember. Like, how fucking awesome is that? That we get to document more or less the moment that you received that. That's I'm gonna pull a no never and download a copy of this stream now, because I'll crop it. I'll crop it for you, so you can have that, because like, how cool. Like, now you have a video that says, here's the moment I got my DD214 revealed to the world. It's official. Like, we're gonna go a little bit off topic here. How does it feel, man?
I'm still kind of wading through everything, so it's still kind of an in the mix. Like, I had a digital copy of my DD214, but this is like this is the no shit, like, you are hereby retired from the United States Army, yakety yakety yak, right?
Right.
I have my retired ID.
That's awesome.
So I did get that. Yeah, it feels pretty good. Yeah.
I got the vibe from the video you put out, that flag, and it really helped me wake up this morning in a very real way, and it inspired me. I had a little laundry basket full of toys that we'd gotten from the most recent haul from the box, and I started opening toys and putting them away and shit. So thank you. But I really got the vibe, and you might think I might be full of shit here, but I really did get the vibe. There was a different demeanor to you. You're like, this is what I do now with my time. This is what I want to do.
I really appreciated that comment. That was very kind of you. And I to one end, I was wearing a lapel mic, so I was trying to not project my voice, because then it's like way too loud. And on the other end, I was just like, I was just chilling, just gonna paint a nice little fire extinguisher right here.
There's no mistakes. There's no mistakes unless your meat moves. And
I got so many comments about, oh man, you're channeling Bob Ross. Like, just gonna paint a happy little grate here.
Yeah, man. But the thing is, like, I have, for example, like some of the paint pens that you have. I have some, not maybe that exact one, but I have them. And I've been hanging on to them forever.
Right.
And I always assumed they would work the way that you showed. And then to hear you say, I'm like, oh, he's validated my 4-year-old purchase almost. Yay! You know,
Paint pens. Yeah.
yay! Yeah, because I got the Chrome ones first because Chrome is important. It's at a premium, whatnot. But to get to kind of whirl things back around a little bit, as someone who among us has a very focused and large collection, what if someone asked you today, why do you go through the stress and toil of collection, display, the economics of it, the stupid community bullshit? Like what keeps you going? Like why subject yourself to this?
For a while. I have always been organized. As a kid, everything had to be in its place, in its spot, and then going to military school, joining the military. There's something about collecting, and granted, not all this stuff is dress, but it's organized, and I like it. And
Bless your heart. I wish I was you. Look at this
it's
shit.
so hard for me to try to quantify that with one kind of a statement. It's like, I guess it's like describing what water tastes like. It's just like, it tastes like water, you know?
He does it for the chicks.
I just love it. There's just something about, you know, finding a little piece of history like this and, you know, looking at it and just thinking about everything that went into this, like the design of it, the molds of it, you know, and we borrowed G2 Megatron's gun for this tank and the history of this and how it was supposed to be the stealth tank for 95 Joe Battle Corps Rangers, and instead it turned into this. And there's just something about, it's like a little physical dolly time capsule, and it's just rad. Like, I love the smell of toys. I like the sound of toys, and there's also the, I don't want to say it's generic, but there's all of this stuff is from a time when life was easier and everything was ahead of me, and life was like that shiny brand new penny, and I was creative and inventive, and this stuff helps us, you know, work out social skills and how to pretend and how to understand spatial awareness and how to share with people. And I just fucking love it, man.
Dude,
That's perfect.
I do think that the dopamine hits that we get from either a new toy or a new acquisition, or just arranging, playing with our dollies, to use your parlance, you know,
Yep.
I think that outweighs any of the BS. And someone recently asked me, like, how much money do you have tied up in this? I says, I don't think you want to know, number one. And two, I think about where else that money would or could have gone, especially with, like, where I've worked myself in my career, despite, you know, currently being between jobs. But I still am at a point where financially it's like I still have more means than I did ever in my life to do this. So it's like, well, what are you going to spend it on? And sure, I could buy a second drum set. I could buy a bigger TV. I could buy a lot more. I could eat at more fancier restaurants. I could go to a concert or going to see a film. And it's like, well, no, I want something. If I'm going to spend these amounts of money on these things, I want something I can park on a shelf and enjoy any frickin' time I want. And that goes for not just the toys, but for the physical media, and for simple things like a poster, a painting, because a good photograph frame. You know, you could, tons of things these things that we have in groups that we display that will shed light on some part of our lives or our psyche. I think that for me, collecting is one of the best ways to share of yourself and give people insight. You know, because I love to entertain. Like the homes that I have, I try to make very inviting for people.
Yeah.
I'm not, but not everyone's like that. There are some people that are like, "This is my room. Don't go in there." You know.
No. I'm like, hey, do you want to see my dolly room? Come on.
Exactly. And I think that's a thing. Do you guys all feel that there's a reflection of yourselves in the stuff that you collect?
Certainly.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite collections. Is when there's a reflection of.
I was waiting for like people to vocalize, and then like I don't want to just.
That's what.
First
I
of
was
all,
thinking,
Will,
Chad.
you look amazing. You look like Sean Connery.
Sean, yes, 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 yes.
Does he have no audio?
Indeed. Well, you can't hear me?
Yeah, you got your mic off there. He's
Oh,
bad
sorry.
about that.
Yeah, you're good. I can hear you, but I
Yeah.
can
You hear Will?
hear you.
You hear
check-
Will?
Yeah.
It's
Oh, I don't hear
Chad. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear.
I only hear you.
You should be able to hear him. You guys are not muted from anybody.
Anyway, Will, I think you look fantastic. You look like Sean Connery from The Rock, like you're about to go put in some work. Robert, how you doing, buddy?
Doing all right. How about yourself, my man?
Shit, I can't hear anybody.
What the hell?
Oh no.
I don't know.
Check you. Let me look at your audio settings here real quick because I can see that crap.
Hey, remember that time you had me on your show and I wrecked your show?
Pop out and he'll have to pop back in, but he may have to refresh his screen.
Looks
I'm
good to
gonna
me.
refresh. Can you hear anyone now beside me? Someone say something.
Check.
Chad,
check.
you gotta check your settings.
Negative. Sorry.
Do you have?
I'll just sit
I'm
here.
gonna. Yeah. Hang on.
Yeah.
Have Chad refresh his browser screen and come back in, Jim.
Yeah. Try one more time, real quick. Somebody
It's-
say something.
Hello.
Testicle.
Yeah.
One,
Yeah.
two,
Chad,
three.
refresh your browser screen, and you should be good. Everything on your settings looks great.
Testing.
He may have to put his password back
Who's
in.
that?
Yeah, he's got it though. I've got it. He's got it in print.
Yeah.
And
You know, there's a way to make that link where the password's automatic in there, Jim. You
I thought it was in there.
there.
Sometimes
in
you
there.
have to slap some
There he is. Can you hear us now? Hello.
Chad.
nope,
I don't
I know
think you
why.
can.
I know why now. Hang on a second. I know exactly why.
Okay.
It's something
So-
Jim did.
It is. I got to give you a new link, buddy. Because it's like there's a little thing that says guests can hear others. I'm like, why would it not be a setting? It's so fucking stupid. Ugh. Gives me
Keep
too
him in
much
the
control.
Chad box.
Damn it! All right, now how's that working for you?
Chad,
I don't know.
Hello.
can you hear me? Hello.
Chad.
Bloody hell!
What?
Don't let me interrupt what you guys are
What
doing.
kind
Just-
of
just keep on
nonsense
going.
is this?
But Chad, I sent you a different link in the Instagram. Try that. It should work. If it doesn't, we'll adjust fire. Okay.
All good. All good.
All right.
Don't sweat me.
Yeah.
I never sweat Chad. Chad's he's not heavy. He's my brother. I'm just making sure. Dun, 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 dun. I know everything's fine. This should work. Damn it. Okay. All right.
Maybe
Go
Chad's
Chad.
cat.
It's live TV. It's true. It's true. It's true. And yes, Godzilla turned 70 this year. That's a big fact. I think it's the release was early this year. Yeah, that's true. So, yeah.
I've got to go see the latest Godzilla movies. I haven't done so yet.
I missed -1, and we just caught up to with the legendary stuff, MonsterVerse stuff, to where we should be able to go see Godzilla and Kong. So we should do that this week.
I'm
all
either
goes
waiting
well.
for them to stream somewhere, or I'll just bring the ship out of the dock. Although it's been sitting in the dock so long, I'm going to have to get down there and start repairing it a little bit.
Oh, you're right. November 3rd is G Day, so November 3rd he turned 70. Okay.
Ah, very
And
cool.
go just like,
Oh,
I
every
thought
time
you knew
think
that,
about
Jim.
November, I think about remember.
The 5th of
The 5th of
November,
November.
-2. So Johnny asked, when -1 gets to 0, what happens? They reboot the entire series and start from scratch and ignore everything.
No, they do that about every 10 years, don't they, Jumbo?
Technically, most of this. So Showa era obviously was a continuous thing. The Heisei era kind of like acknowledges the first movie, but it doesn't. Display name. Can I hear you now?
Chad, can you hear us? Yes. Can you hear us?
You can't hear anybody, can you?
No.
You can hear me.
I can't. I can't.
I could tell by the twinkle in his eye.
What fun these new toys are. See, this is what you go through. So this is why a StreamYard exists, to make it easier for everybody. But to have more control, you also have to take that control and roll with the punches like any hobbyist. 3D printing is like that. I almost ripped something apart today because I got mad at my printer.
Jim isn't doing Video Ninja right, folks. I just want y'all to know that.
How about that?
I've seen better from worse.
The audacity of this man. Yeah. The audacity. But yeah, it's. I think we all. What's interesting is there's a nostalgic joy, but like everyone's first toy was different. Everyone's first comic was different. Their first film, the first rented videotape, what have you. And I feel like those certainly will kind of have an influence and have a say in what we do and don't like. I mean, obviously, for example, Chad likes G.I. Joe a little bit, obviously. Just a smidge.
Just a little.
Yeah. But I also feel like, and I don't want to speak for you, but I always got the vibe that because you did end up in the military and made a career of it, that almost fed right back into the G.I. Joe. Did that make a big difference for you? And if so, how?
It's kind of symbiotic with me, just because Joe is what made me want to join the Army, and then I joined the Army, and then being in the Army just made me wanted to be into Joe more. I don't know. It's yeah. Each one is the gasoline feeding the other. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I don't know.
But then you look just on the other end of it. Like Will worked at a toy store for a long time. And you can't say that didn't have massive influence. You were already a big toy guy, but like, did it kick it up a notch on another level?
Of course, yeah. Are you kidding me? I had this whole little stash area in the back room where, and I remember, when I first started, the DM was like, "You're not allowed to do that," and then we just got better at hiding it. Like we'd have like a little box that would say like cleaning supplies, and it'd be our little stash until payday. But
you're the reason I couldn't find those X-Men figures on the shelf at KB Toys.
No,
busted.
I was actually very I'd say too much in hindsight. I was very ethical about that. I wouldn't take stuff that was rare or the collectors were coming in and looking for. My habits have always been to pick up like kind of the quirky weird things, like that. Like I said, for most of my collecting, it was always like, does this 118? Can I use this with my G.I. Joe? Because G.I. Joe went away for a while. So I was buying, like I said, those Godzilla 98 toys, because the tank, the Jeep, the little vehicles and stuff like that, you could use them with G.I. Joe. So I was picking those up.
Those are Trendmaster stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was. Yep. But, it definitely made it much worse, I would say. Although in the middle of it, I did have kids, and I did transition from I can't afford that crap for myself anymore. But I'll tell you, my kids had a stinking ridiculous amount of toys when they were like, birth to 7 years old. It was obscene how many toys these kids had. I got them. They were really into like those Fisher Price. They did Marvel, Fisher Price, Adventure People, I think. No, not Adventure People. They were like Rescue Heroes. And they had like giant feet. They were clunky dudes. My kids were so into them, but I had all the Marvel ones. It was, tons of fun.
Yeah,
You know,
my kids
that,
were always
that,
into
that
toys.
reminded me of something, Will, when you were talking about buying for your kids. I remember when the Power of the Force came out, I collected all of those figures into my collection. And then when the Trendmaster Godzilla stuff came out, I'm a big Godzilla fan. I collected all the Trendmaster figures, even the ones that you couldn't find, like Varan the Destroyer that you had to go online to find, had them all. And then my daughter decided that she was going to move away and get married and be in her own home. And then I found out that those weren't really part of my collection. They were hers. And all my Power of the Force and all my Godzilla collection went away.
Ooh.
So, but like Bill, you never stopped collecting, but also Robert never stopped collecting. So,
No.
so there was never like a lull for you. And certainly, if you look at the way toys have gone from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s to now, it's been like rocky terrain in the ocean for a while, and we're kind of hitting like one could argue we're on like a second golden age of toy collecting to a certain degree. As far as availability and variety to a certain degree, there's a lot of failures out there for sure. But what with you start with your childhood stuff and just kept going. Was there ever a time of self-doubt of like, I don't need any more of this stuff? You slowed down at different places, but what made you kind of look yourself in the mirror and say, no, I'm going to keep getting this stuff as long as cool stuff comes out? Like, where did that go?
Well, I mean, and I should explain it. It's been a bit of rock and roll because like I did go through a very rough time, rough divorce, laid off from work, and I had to go and sell a bunch of my Marvel Legends, which, I did that on eBay and kind of regretted it. And then a few years ago, I decided to rebuild the collection with updates. And so that's kind of where I'm at now. And I'm just about finished that. So, it's not technically been a constant run, but I mean, like I said, I did slow down a little bit. In that time, I think the only thing I was buying was like these 1/18th Doctor Who figures that we're putting out at the time. I got the Weeping Angel up here. But I think that was the only things I bought in that amount of time. And then, always buying up old Joes, and because Joe's was always my favorite. Joe's and Star Wars were always my favorite.
Yeah. Like I'd probably sell just about everything in my collection, but my Joes, I'm never getting rid of them.
Yeah.
Tell him, Will.
That's right.
That's what I didn't touch when I sold stuff. I was like, no, not those, but yeah, the old Marvel Legends went.
Well, Jim said that I never stopped collecting. I don't know if that's technically true or not. It may be technically true, but not exactly the way it goes. So when I was a kid, I had all this shit, and some of it survived and some of it didn't. But at some point, I graduated from high school, and I decided that it kind of like maybe Chad down there, but not to the degree he did. I decided that it might be fun to travel overseas and meet strange and unusual people and kill them. And so I went and I did that for a period of time, and there was no toy collecting happening during that period of time. You know what I mean, Chad? And then I got out, I got married. I would go to the toy section of said Walmart or Target, or even go to Toys R Us or whatever, and I would see something cool like, hey, look, there's that Batman animated figure from the TV show. Let me get that. But that doesn't mean that I got all of them. It meant I got that figure and maybe a Batmobile.
Yeah.
And then maybe sometime later I might go back and get the Wayne Manor playset. And my wife would be like, what's wrong with you? Nothing. And then
what's wrong with you?
It was cherry picking here and there. I mean, I would skip whole toy lines because it wasn't my bag. Say Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Sorry guys, if you collect that, that's just great for you, but it wasn't for me at the time.
Yeah.
And said Power of the Force. Why did I get into that? Well, I had the original Star Wars figures as a kid, and this was kind of like doing something with my daughter. That's kind of why she ended up with them and I didn't, because she played with them more than I did, because I had to go out and toil away to afford to buy the stuff, So
Matt, Yeah, I don't mean to cut you off, but Matt brings up a good point here in his comments. He says, I think I'm just loving learning the history that I missed while I was playing. Now with Carson, Dan, and Chad, among others, to help motivate and find a direction to collect. I think that as adult collectors now, I think that's a big part of it too, because that's part of the community I think a lot of us might not give a lot of thought to. The fact that you learn something new every day. Like
Oh,
maybe we saw
absolutely.
the stuff on the shelf. Maybe I didn't know what the company was, but now when you mention a year and a toy line, I can almost always call out who made it. Like the Trendmasters Godzilla. Like there's just things that you pick up and remember. Like I could not tell you what I ate and when I ate for the first time today. Couldn't tell you. I don't remember.
Coffee.
But I can remember I didn't have any coffee today. Actually,
Yeah.
it's rare. But
Yeah, and to second that, I thought I knew a lot about toys and the toy lines that I was interested in, and then I came on YouTube and joined this community, and I realized how much I fucking don't know. Because every time I watch Chad, he's bringing up some fucking figure I never saw before, and I'm like, holy shit, where'd that come from? I mean, that happened a bunch of times.
Well, we're all in that same boat to one degree or another, right? Lifelong learning, and it doesn't matter what it is. Like we're always learning. We're always trying to find new information, and that's why I love Dan Klingensmith's books, because it doesn't matter what page you open it to, you're going to go, I didn't know that. And I watched JLS Comics unproduced G.I. Joe Part 2 video today, and he talks about the whole sordid history of trying to get G.I. Joe into live action, and half of that I didn't know. And that's why I like what we do and the people we know and the stuff that we all share with each other, because you're always going to have that, man, I didn't know that. Always going to have that moment. And it's just cool.
And
it's just
similar
cool.
to that, there's things that you knew but forgot. Like every so often, it happens less often now than it used to. But every so often, someone will pull up a toy. I'm like, oh shit, I had that, or I wanted that, or my buddy had that, or I remembered that toy but didn't know what it was from.
Or there was that famous stream, Jim, where you talked about that weird toy you saw in a KB window, and we went for an hour and a half trying to figure out what the hell it was.
And that's on my short list to get out of the closet here shortly and actually glue the gun back together and put it up, because I'm starting to get displays going. The Nylent Freedom Force helicopter, navy blue, for no reason.
That was a hell of a stream.
Oh, one of my favorites. And you see this moment where I just freak out because oh shit, I remember this, and it's never ending stuff. Like I watch it, like Attorney of Dreams, which is a big toy store / dealer out there. They do some great stuff, and I've known of them for a long time. They started a YouTube channel in the last few months, and I've been binging a lot of their stuff. I also watch Toy Federation quite a bit.
I didn't even know that Attorney of Dreams made a channel. That's cool.
Yeah, it's been only about 6 to 9 months old tops, and they brought in someone to do the filming and editing for them, because once you see like how they operate day to day, you can tell they don't have time. So it's crazy, because the stuff that you see, the level of organization, like Chad will appreciate that store if he hasn't been to it, because the level of organization that motherfucker has in that store, like everything has a bag and a card thing, and is that this has this, and he's always
even when he goes and
around.
does cons, like he has everything broken down by panel and just goes boop 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 boop.
Yeah, it's very military to the nth degree, but also OCD. But he also never loses the joy for it. So I recommend y'all check that out, because he's got stuff and you're like, what? I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, that's
Hey, Jim.
Yeah.
I got a question for Will. Talk me through this, because I love this toy collection that you've collected there. How many of them did you already have, and how many did you have to acquire to get that entire MASH collection that you have?
Oh,
Yeah,
Lord.
so that was interesting because that was so I was out of collecting. Like when my kids were like 5 or 6, I kind of just stopped doing it, mostly financial reasons. I had to focus on my children. I'm raising 2 kids. I can't really just buy these things. I would still appreciate them and look at them in the store, but it'd be kind of mean if my kid wanted a toy and I went, "No, Daddy's got to get his dolly. Shut up." Most of it was focused on them and buying the things that they liked. I would pick up a piece here and there, but I was really wholly out of toy collecting from like 2005 through 2018, and that's when I moved into the place I'm at now. And when I moved, I unearthed some boxes of some of my more precious items. My kids were in high school or have already graduated, and I was like, "Hey, I'm going to open these up." And just breaking that seal, getting in that box, getting my guys back up on the shelf, and then I started with just my GI Joe stuff. I'm just going to display that, and anyway, and then I got into first it was like Facebook groups, toy groups, and mostly the GI Joe toy groups. But then those are kind of ran their course, and I got onto YouTube. And as I was learning more about different toy lines, I learned about Palatoy, Action Force. I learned about other alternate 118 lines. And as I was shopping, I was doing that research and just trying to figure out what has come out. So that's where someone just posted like a Klinger figure, like they were trying to ID figures on Facebook one day, and I'm like, they made freaking MASH toys? What the shit? So I looked, and they're pretty expensive. So what I did was I just set like an alert on eBay. So anytime like those TriStar MASH toys were posted, a thing would pop up. And what happened was I got almost a complete collection for, like I said, under $100. It was a buy it now. It had the Jeep, everything you saw in the video, the Jeep, the ambulance, all the figures. Right. And then all I needed was the helicopter and the play set. That took me about another year, but once I got them in hand, I really liked them. It's weird because they're like an O-ring, but it's like an alternate style O-ring. And, I think it's bizarre that it even exists, but if I hadn't gotten that entire opportunity to buy like the entire figure collection with the cards and everything in one shot, I probably wouldn't have tracked them all down. I'll say that.
My question though is this, considering what my channel is, adventures. Weird. Does G.I. Joe ever get injured and have to be taken to the surgical hospital to get?
That is the the kind of the goal. If you looked at my video, I threw Doc in the Jeep with Hot Lips Houlihan, and he joined them. So
you just validated everything that you spent all that money for just by telling me that. Thank you.
Yeah, but I was able to pick up the helicopter, which I got to tell you, and I didn't notice this, but the aircraft, like I have like so many Joe helicopters and off-brand helicopters and jets, like I'm just into them. I really like the aircraft. They're definitely one of the coolest parts of the toy line. But, I got that base last year at Joe Fest, and now I have the complete collection. It's just that it's 4 feet by 4 feet, and it's got like a gazillion parts, and I need somewhere like big that I could set that whole thing up in. And, once I do that, I'm going to do a redux of that whole line and just something I really enjoy. I'm really into all those alternate brands. I had the core stuff, the O-ring core stuff when I was younger. Lots of cool play sets and stuff like that, but just about anything that they made. Anything they made during that era that is the O-ring or 3 3/4 inch stuff, I'm really interested in. So I saw Chad opening a box with some really cool 118 scale vehicles. That is core. Ooh. Is that the core or is that like Chatmate? That's the core, and that one is
Space Force, isn't it?
Yep. Oh, you're muted.
Well, I muted myself because I was like ripping open. You're like, how rude is that? Yeah, it's Star Force.
Yeah,
Star Force. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I got the.
Right? I love it. Yeah,
that's
so great. Yeah, fantastic.
Gee, I wonder where they got some of the design elements from.
Can't imagine.
It looks pretty
Now-
original to me.
Yeah. Well,
I'll
that
think
said,
about it
though,
later. And then I got 7 figures too.
Oh,
Nice.
yo, those are nice. I love those figures. Yeah.
I already had a bunch, and they're all in my Defiant because
Yeah.
they look perfect. The Star Force figures look perfect with a Defiant, but
They had a cheap alternate Defiant. It was a rocket launch tower and a ship, and I have that. I bought that at Toys R Us like in '99, probably.
Yeah.
And it has the launch tower, the ship. It's a much smaller and easier to kind of move ship.
Mhm.
It's wonderful. I got to get that out of storage and show it off. So cool.
you
I
do.
have a comment I need to bring up here from the Badger. Because this community is great for sharing brands and lines that not everyone collects, but we enjoy listening and learning. He calls me out with Motu, Will with 1/18 scale, and then himself with the micro machines, which he is
Yes.
really into that. And it's
Yeah.
very supportive. And I like the fact that everyone's got their thing. I know that basically people were like, he's the superpowers and Motu guy. Like, that's what they know me as. But I have just as much enthusiasm for everything else. But
Yeah.
I feel like there's a certain kind of, shall we say, vicarious advocacy that happens. People enjoy your joy a lot more.
It's a good way to put that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. Like, I would never have sought out to collect Barbie, but my wife has a love for it, and we've been really enjoying that process. And I wasn't sure if this was going to be something she really dug into or not until Joe Ricondo found some pristine vintage Barbie boxes during his day job and put them in a box along with some other stuff and sent them along, and she saw them and she's like, and she just, you see that moment where it's like she went from, this is great to have, to like, now I need all this. And she's so I get to do that even at my house. We have right now, all of her Barbie kind of sits on top of a bookshelf in our living room, and it also is flanked by this 15, 16-inch knockoff Godzilla we got on our trip here. And we will often, if we at 1 o'clock in the morning, we've had a couple drinks, we just kind of look up at that and we kind of just reminisce about how that she went from, oh, you collect toys, what's that like, to now she's got her own collection that's starting and she's involved with it. So it's this whole, there's a bonding that can occur with everything, for sure.
That brings up a point there, Jim. It's what do we get out of this? Sometimes what we get out of this is hooking somebody else on the plastic crack. I can remember me trying to figure out what I'm going to do with all of these O-ring G.I. Joes that I'm not really into anymore. Sorry, Chad. But I wanted them to go to someone who would appreciate them. And that's when we made a big K. There's
yeah, speaking of wives, there's Paula, Bill's wife, who is a collector herself. And while she's on screen, I have to find those figures. They're somewhere in there. I tried to pull them out. They're in there somewhere in that closet. I haven't found them yet. But I got stuff to send both of you. I'm getting a box together.
Okay.
But I have to find your stuff. I don't know where the fuck it is.
You don't know where it is?
I don't know where it is. It's in there. I know it's there somewhere. Well, of course.
But my point was, I wanted to find someone who would appreciate them, so they went to Jimbo. But here's the kicker there, Chad. You'll appreciate this. So I had a G.I. Joe fort when I was a kid, but me being a kid, I played with it far too much, and all of it wasn't there. But I knew that if I sent it to Jim, he would have to go and find all of the pieces to complete it.
Yeah. And Chad and I had a conversation about that. I still got to track some stuff down, but the parts are like over here, and I should move them, but I decided not to move them until I started really dialing in and starting getting some of the parts, because I need to have access to them for reference, so that when I'm looking, I can say, okay, I've got this, this fits here. So I'm not going to move anything.
That box that you got here recently has got a tray in it. That tray is to hold the G.I. Joe's weapons, and it goes in that there's a place where it goes in there.
Yeah,
and you can put file cards in it too.
Yep.
Yeah, and the other thing was, I'd asked Jim a long time ago, Chad. I said, Jim, do you collect the GI Joe ring? No. I'm only collecting the new GI Joe figures. I said, would you like to collect? Would you like?
Hey
to collect
guys,
the
sorry to
O-ring
interrupt, but I
figures?
gotta run. It was awesome
All right,
hanging
take
out with
care,
you
Will.
guys.
Love you,
I'll
Will.
talk to you soon. All right.
Take care, Will.
Good night.
Cheers, buddy.
Bye, Will.
Take care. Anyway, I'm like, would you like to collect the O-rings? Well, I don't know. I said, how would you like to have mine? Oh,
Well then.
well,
And that began a discussion.
Yeah.
Well, and it's a similar thing. And I hate that Will's gone and can't share the story, but his job, people bring stuff in. He works at a company where people bring stuff in, and they resell. And sometimes it's stuff that they can actually sell on the floor, and sometimes it's like, this wouldn't necessarily fit. And sometimes you get something in the middle where it probably could sell, but it might be a lot of work. He got this box that's bigger than the one that Chad just opened, of just bagged, loose but complete Galoob Star Trek figures. And it's one of those things where he didn't just pick it up off the street or anything. It came in and he had to justify a sale. We worked out a price and he sent it along. And there's just so many of them. It's a crazy amount, and it's just like with the GI Joe thing. It's a starter collection, where I would have probably just got like the bridge crew who be tracked down the bridge, and that would have been it. But now I have like scores of these things. The box is right there, and it's taunting me. I have to catalog what's in there so I know what to look for. I do need the bridge playset for sure, but it's nuts.
I got a question, Jim.
Knocks. Yeah.
I've got a question. All right. So the Galoob figures, how do they scale to the Playmate figures? I'm going somewhere with this.
I wouldn't know because I don't have any of the Playmates. I think they're almost 1-to-1, but I think they're a tiny bit shorter. Oh, yeah. Gojitron brings up a good point here. I wasn't collecting Transformers at one point either, and then Goji sends me the damn core figures, and now I've got almost every core Transformer they've released and a bunch of Voyager stuff. Because again, you got to figure at the time I was like, space is at a premium. I don't know where I'm going to put I was living out of a hotel room at the time. Let's call it what it is. And there wasn't a lot of space. And what? Oh, man. God damn it! I guess I'll have to find out how they scale, Bill. Jesus Christ. Right. You fucker.
Good for you, Bill. Good for you.
Yeah, he's making a point. Well, here, let me get one of them out so you can actually see it.
The problem with that is it's a next generation playset. Now, what's going to wind up happening, Chad, is this fucker is going to wind up collecting Playmates figures so that he can have Captain Picard and Data.
No, wait,
He's like, I need Will Riker. Oh, look, there he is right there.
I believe that those figures there would look very nice in this playset, Jim. I think they would.
Yeah, I actually think, now that you mentioned, I think these are Playmates, not Galoob, because Galoob were taller than this, I think. Because the toys you had, that playset showed them with the bent knees, and I don't think the old Galoob ones had bent knees. They were a bit taller.
Yeah, if the knees bend and they sit with their legs apart when you pull them out, those are Playmates. But you've got the freaking playset for them now.
Wait, what?
We'll work out a deal on this, but this thing has got to go because I don't play with it. I got it for a reason, and that reason is long gone.
That's cool.
But it's complete in the box, and it works. It's got electronics in it.
Ah, shit. Yeah, we'll work out a deal because that's the kicker. Because now I can have the bridge, populate the bridge, and then I can have tiered stands and just have everyone else on either side. One shelf, one and done. Dude. But the problem is...
What's really nice about this playset is... Let me show you the backside so I can show you just how it looks. So when you put it together, you can have as many walls as you want all the way around if you really choose to.
Oh wow,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Very cool. And that's a nice box too. Like, because one of the things that I've talked about doing.
You got a nice box, Bill.
I like that box, nice and shiny. I want to open up your box, Bill. Yeah.
Terrible.
Look,
You know,
I've already
all
been on
of you-
Salacious Rum's show today. You don't have to.
All of you fuckers are enablers in different ways. Obviously, you're all enablers for different toy things, whatever. But Chad definitely enables my dirty, dark marine side quite a bit. And I love that. And Bill does too, and Robert to a different degree as well, and certainly Will. Will might seem like a sweet, loving guy, but like you get a drink or two, you get a Clamato in him or two, and that motherfucker, it's fun. It's awesome.
Yep.
I've been talking about this idea because we've been looking at houses that have 2-car garages or better, typically, unless it's a converted garage that's already been finished. I'm like, I can work with a room like that. But if it's not finished, I want the full 2-car or better, and I have a whole thing in mind. Like, the ideal one is the one where you have the landing that's about, X amount foot deep, where we can put the desk there, put a chair there for streaming and everything right there, and then have one side be dioramas, so there's about chest level and you can play with stuff, whatever. Then you have shelves front and back going down the center, and then shelves on the other side. But then with the door, there's a lot of different insulation you can put in that's really inexpensive that will help keep it cool. Then take a thermal thick curtain in front of that, and then in front of that mount some kind of a grid system. And then I'm going to have a box wall. So all my boxes will be like, supported by like pegs all across the wall. So every time I was never a box collector. But with newer stuff, it's like, well, if it's a nice box like Motu, you don't get rid of that kind of artwork. You just don't do it. And then that grew to, I've got certain boxed things, like my Darkside Destroyer was boxed when I got it. I've got some great G.I. Joe boxes from some reissues. I've certainly got, Superpowers boxes now of other kinds and so forth. It's like, I want to display all this stuff. So this wall, so as soon as he shows that bridge box off, and then says, we'll work out a deal, I'm like, I know exactly where that's going to go on the thing. And so it's funny that I would put, here's this insulation to keep the heat out. And then I put the biggest fire hazard right by that wall. But what are you gonna do? I can't say no. But that's crazy. I appreciate that. Andy here says, I had to sell all my Star Trek TNG and Voyager toys to help pay the bills. Remember the Voyager set was sent to Germany. I have some DS9 and Voyager as well as TNG in this setup. I don't think I have any original series figures in that box. I don't think. Which is fine. I love the original series. I would rather have. They never really made them, but like a complete set of all the characters from Wrath of Khan. If they did that, I just give me that line from Galoob and I'd be happy. But they didn't make Playmates. They didn't make them. They made some, not all. It's nuts. Okay, yeah. So he's saying Galoob is 3 3/4 inch. Playmates is 5 inches. That's a 5-inch figure. There's no question in my mind. The one I just held up my hand is a 5-inch figure. You're muted, sir.
Oh, yeah, I'll turn it off while I was chewing my food. Yeah, those are the figures that go with that playset, sir.
Right on. That's awesome. And yeah, we'll definitely have to talk. Hey, Largo, welcome here. We're in panel mode, and if you would like to join, the link is pinned in the Patreon. You don't have access to it right now. Hang on a second. I can get you a link because that would be fun.
I got to pop out there, Jim. I've got to eat my supper and get ready to go to bed here in about 30 minutes. But it's been a pleasure, and you know how to get in touch with me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate you. We'll talk probably tomorrow.
Yeah, take care, Robert, and I guess Chad. I think you're still here, but you just turn your camera off. And take care, everybody out there. We'll see y'all again, and good journey.
Cheers, brother. All right.
Take care, Bill.
And I'll copy that. I'm just going to get him that. All right, cool. Because I'm having a great conversation here, and I'm happy to keep going. What you got there, Chad?
Well, I had a text from my kiddo that said, so we're having a really bad windstorm here, like spring in the desert Southwest, right? The winds get really bad. And we have like these outdoor lights, kind of strung up outside. Well, the wind ripped it down.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So literally just ripped this right out. And
Damn.
so that's where I went. I went to go pick the yard lights up. Sucks.
Jeez.
My mother
I
had a
love
gazebo once, and the wind picked it up and threw it into her neighbor's yard down the hill.
Yeah, that's something that we're talking about too. Like we don't have a ton of crazy torrential weather here in DFW, but it occasionally occurs. We want to be really careful with things that are built out there and stuff like that, for sure.
It's just the wind.
That's enough, though.
Yeah,
through
it'll be
some of your-
horrible till like June, and then it just stops.
Yeah, one of the larger U.S. tours that we did. We started in Portland, Oregon, and then came down through California, then crossed all of Arizona to Texas, then up through the Midwest, and then around the East Coast back to Texas, and we flew home.
Right.
But those couple days going across Arizona, it was July, so it was prime dust storm season.
Yep.
And it was
hot.
It was great fun. It was the memories will last forever. I probably still have some of the sand embedded somewhere in my skin. It's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird being an East Coast guy and being stuck in the Southwest for so long. I don't know why I'm still here, but I got no reason now. So.
Oh yeah, and so I will say, as a fellow Nor'easter, I'm gonna throw it out there. I have lived all over this country. I've traveled all over this country and beyond. And I'm telling you, for a Nor'easter that maybe doesn't want to mess with snow anymore, you won't find a much better place in terms of commerce, access to collectibles, toys, and the community, and food culture and everything else. No state taxes than DFW here. So when you come down this year for the show, please take note.
No, my brother lives in Dallas. So
okay, that's right. You did.
My
mention
brother,
that,
his wife, my niece, they live in Dallas. And I spent a lot of years in Texas, partially in the Army, but I also know that Texas and Florida are the best two veterans.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes.
Jim!
Hey, guys. So,
Largo in the hizzy. So, just to catch you up, what this show is about, what the panel's about, is why we bother to collect. With all the stress and toil and the economic hardship and the infighting and everything in between, like what has brought us there. And the general consensus we've come to is that the good outweighs the bad, but we all have a different hook that got us in or kept us there. And I think you bring a slightly different perspective than some other folks might. Just in the sense of you're one of those folks that you got rid of your whole collection to retire, and then you got down there to Guatemala, and then you started over again. Was that always the plan, or did the hook kind of... how did that happen, and what keeps you going? Because you've had all kinds of logistic problems collecting down there. What keeps that fire burning, man?
Well, it kind of goes back to what was it? I think John Lennon said, "Life is what happens while you're making other plans." I had the idea to go minimalist. I got rid of everything down to a rucksack and a carry-on, and decided I was just gonna, do some, hanging out in the woods, do some hiking, see some ruins, and once I got settled down, the only thing I brought with me, I had one Superman action figure, and I had a TARDIS and a Tom Baker Doctor. And it's like, this is it. I'll have that on my shelf. That'll be my thing.
I'm
good. I
pause
got
you
rid
for
of
a
everything
second.
else.
Speaking of the TARDIS, I mentioned earlier in the show that I almost ripped some things apart today because I was throwing a fit with my 3D printer. I was trying to print your TARDIS, full scale. Yeah, and it's
He's like, show me some love, Jim. Show me some love.
Yeah.
You're my only hope.
I'm trying, man. It's a bitch because it takes up the whole bed.
Hey, I think it's going to be big for
if
these
one
guys.
thing goes wrong, I'm sorry, but I didn't mean. But I really am working on it. So
I know.
anyway, so you come down with like Superman, some Doctor Who, a TARDIS, and then what happened?
I met a gal, as one does, and ended up wandering over to the city or the country next door. I originally was going to retire in Belize and went to Guatemala and decided I liked it better. Bought a house and needed to fill it with stuff, as you do, and decided I wanted to get back into some nostalgia stuff. I looked at what was kind of going on with. I'm trying to think of the timeline because time gets fuzzy after a while.
It does.
We hadn't quite hit that kerfuffle with the coof going on and everybody getting back into collecting because they were shut-ins.
Right.
So I was looking at getting back into superpowers, the old Kenner stuff, because that was one of my favorites. Maybe doing some other vintage stuff like $6 Million Man or whatnot. Just kind of testing out what the market was like because I hadn't purchased vintage stuff in a long time. Prices weren't terrible for most of the things I like, and it's it's like anything else. You start with one. So I'll just get one thing, just something to represent. And then, it just snowballs from there. So, I like most people have several plastic tubs of stuff I don't need and all my shelves are full. And, I've kind of slowed down a bit. Logistics have been miserable. There's just a great difficulty getting things into this country now because of all the things that have happened since like 2020. Anything imported has become more expensive. It's just a thing. So my purchases are much more selective now. My targeting of what I collect is much more focused on things that I'm actually enjoying at the moment. That I actually, whether it's something that, there's a very tactile thing to, the old Joes and, some of the nostalgia bits that we get. But there's so many new and innovative things coming out that are exciting. It's like, got to pick and choose, man. Can't go for everything. So it's a challenge. For me, one of the other things, being a stranger in a strange land, collecting for me is more about social connection. I don't have friends here who are into collecting. I don't have friends here who grew up watching the same movies or have the same pop culture. Yep. So being part of this online community, sorry, Chad, I know. It's community.
Jim, you're like Snake Eyes.
It happens, doesn't it?
The blonde Snake Eyes, not the Henry Golding Snake Eyes.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a step up. Anyway, I enjoy interacting with the guys that we meet through, the collection of dollies and looking at vintage bits and the lore and the trivia. And even some of the actuallys are kind of fun when people actually that was in 1972 when that came out. And it's like, oh, I didn't know. Thank you. So that colors my collecting. Yeah, it is a thing sometimes.
Jim, I got something to show you.
Is this safe for work or?
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't, this channel's fine for that. We're 18.
Are you ready? I showed this to the other guys when I had to get up and answer the door.
Oh, I know what that is. Nice.
And we captured it. We captured it, which is really cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. I cannot wait to see where your journey goes, Chad. Like as far as like now you can like focus. It's gonna be the same thing. I'm just not gonna be as stressed out. I get that, but at the same time, when one has that opportunity of time and not have to cut the day up in the same ways once one did, you shake your head, but I have a feeling that there's going to be some changes that come that you don't anticipate, and I cannot wait to see them. You know,
I'm sure, and I'm excited to just see what unfolds for me and my family and my future. And now I don't answer to shit. You know,
that's the thing.
Classic.
I
the
think
classics was it Styx that did too much time on my hands? It's a real thing. As a fellow retiree, I can tell you that does happen unless you have a plan and a purpose.
I actually have a routine that I keep, so
that helps.
It really is important because it's easy. It's very easy to lose, and you know I sometimes battle with insomnia, and my wife certainly does as well. So sometimes we'll be up till 3, 4 in the morning and not even realize it and go, oh shit, we better sleep. And then one or both of us can't get to sleep, and then we're in this weird place now with sleep and everything. Maintaining some sort of a routine is so important, whether you're working or not. And even with remote work, and when you have kind of that flexibility, like my last job, I was on salary, and yes, they wanted me available during work hours. But as long as I met the deadlines, they didn't care so much. So I could kind of do whatever, and it worked out okay. But now that I'm, you know, shall we say, sans employment, it's kind of got this other place. But it's afforded me other opportunities. Whether it's if I feel like I'm sitting here watching a Chad video, I feel like getting a bunch of dollies out of the box, I can do that and just pick it up and do it. And I'm like, you can't see it on this angle, but today I got out of box my McFarlane Supermobile, the Invisible Jet, and something else came out of the box.
I got 5 invisible jets in front of me right now.
But there's a, you know what? Fuck you! I'm gonna go get it because I need to show you something. I didn't know this was a thing on the damn jet. But this is the coolest
How you
thing.
doing there, Robert?
I'm doing all right. I don't have a Cena figure, but you know.
Yeah, you know.
So to keep this thing flat, you know they had to put something flat on the bottom so it would, you know, it could just sit and not roll off. So in doing that, someone got the bright idea, well, why don't we make that an action feature? So if you look close, you might see some golden lasso in the workings of this thing. I don't know how many of you have seen this, but I did not know this was a thing. You pull this out from the bottom.
Nobody can see it. It's invisible.
Yeah,
I don't see it.
You've got
Robert can see it. Sorry, Jim.
you got this hook that
started
you
it.
can open up, and you pull it as far as you want. And so this thing, and then you take this top wing and just go like this, and it just zips up like that. It's the coolest little fucking thing. And then it just clicks right back in. It's your display stabilizer, and I'm like, well, shit. This is so cool. I know you can't see it, but it's so cool. And the canopy works, and it doesn't break every time you use it. It's great. And chat's getting in on it, too. Thanks, Ted. Says, what's he showing?
No, nobody knows, right?
I heard a click. But, like, that's, like, how cool is that? I would have preferred to have the option to have a dial so you could do it halfway up or something. But I guess you get that out of pulling it down a bit, whatever. But this toy came out, late last year, I think? Last year?
Yeah,
And,
something like that.
Go with that.
As vexed as I am with Toddy Mac over what he did to my beloved DC multiverse
I
and
agree.
decided to go 7-inch and all the terrible face paints and, well, you know,
There are
he's done well
some
with
gems.
superpowers.
Yeah, he's done very well with superpowers. To the point where we were pulling out the vintage stuff for the display update for the charity stream, and I noticed my Hal Jordan is shall we say, he needs entire leg replacements. He just wobbly and blah, 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 blah. I was like, he wasn't that way before, but 3 years of storage will do that.
Now I got a question. Riddle me this, kids.
Yeah.
There was a planned Joker mobile.
He is making one.
I was going to say I think they had almost gotten the prototype with the Kenner superpowers before that got done. And in the Batman animated series, they had talked about doing a Joker mobile. Both times it never made it to fruition. So
yeah,
I want a Joker mobile.
Yeah, the rumint is that it is coming out this year. I never report on rumors, but I keep tabs on them so I know like where my money's going in 6 months. And according to reliable sources, there is a Joker mobile coming. It is not the design we had in the mini comics, which is what I really wanted, but it's close.
Yeah.
Because that was so cool because I had the front hood. I love that shit. Oh,
I only
stop
have
it with
one
the Justice Jogger
McFarlane
shit.
figure. What do you say?
Oh, he was saying justice for the Justice Jogger. The meme being that I don't want one, but I'm going to buy one. Yeah.
I only own one McFarlane figure, and it's the Arkham Batman because I love that design of Arkham Batman. I've seen the Killer Croc. I've seen, I want to say Clayface.
Yeah.
But I've seen a couple of massive ones, and they look fantastic.
It's a mega fig. A lot of those mega figs, they've come down in price. Like the Man Bat on Amazon, you can occasionally catch that for around $25. And it's one.
Did
of those
he make Solomon Grundy?
He did make a Grundy. I think it was the Arkham game version. I have the Swamp Thing he did, and that one's pretty good. So yeah, he does good monsters. He just needs to figure out.
Have the Arkham Batman still in his box. He's in my game room, and I like to look at him because he's rad. But I've never, you get a lot of information from that tactile contact. When you manipulate and articulate a figure. So because I've never done that, I don't have that kind of awareness of McFarlane, DC multiverse figure.
What I can say is that they're in a similar space as NECA, in as much as they don't fall apart in the box, but there are some manufacturing defects that have become somewhat rampant. But in the last year, I started getting some multiverse stuff last year because I was like, okay, because I'm going to have this dedicated office, so all my DC multiverse and Mattel superpowers, those are going to live in the dedicated office, so like bigger representation along with Black Series and a couple other things, just so there's some nice stuff and it's a bit more of a, shall we say, breathable display that's a bit more respectable. And they just happen to come out with some characters I really liked, and the ones that I've gotten, like the Tim Drake Robin, the Nightfall Batman, which is very much a Neil Adams looking Batman, beautiful figure. I haven't had any problems with them at all. They pose really well. They stand much better than they have any business standing because you can get them all these contorted positions and shit. But I've also held some older ones in my hand, like at Retropalooza. Someone had an older, I forget which figure it was. I'm like, let me check it out. Like, what is this from? I was like, oh, it's from like 2019 or something. And that thing definitely felt like it was going to snap on you. Like the leg was going to come off, even if you put heat to it. Like, you could tell the difference between it's stuck versus it's just never going anywhere.
Right.
You know?
The articulation choices that he went with, plus the 7-inch scale, just made it incompatible with anything that came before if you wanted to try to augment an existing collection from the Mattel line, which was annoying. They still make some really odd choices for the way the anatomy comes together. The articulation is just weird compared to other action figure lines. And he, for some reason, his face sculpts are not great on his human figures. I don't know.
Yeah,
why.
I saw that one Superman with that like super fat, like mutton chop jaw. It's like, dude.
Well, that's the Batman Returns one. That's how that character model looked. I have him. He's right there. And
the Superman?
No, I think one of his is supposed to be like the traditional comic version. The lantern jaw didn't turn out quite right. I think I know which one he's talking about.
Was it the Hush one?
That one didn't look great either, but no, he did one that was supposed to be more traditional. And the head
instead of a
not
square
great.
jaw, he has like this fat jaw.
Looks like, he's Been
Well,
to the plastic surgeon one too many times.
he's rumored to be doing a Christopher Reeve one soon, so that one I think will either make or break that argument right there. If he nails that, okay. But it's I don't know. You guys know me by now. Some people would probably call me an apologist or an idealist, and I definitely lean into the idealism side of things because it's like, well, I only have so much time on this earth that I can collect this stuff, and I know that no amount of huffing and puffing and whining and crying and stomping and begging is going to get them to necessarily change what they're doing. It's vote with your dollar, and I'm very much a person that, and again, I know this is very unpopular, but if it's good enough and I like it, I will purchase it because I know that I'm not willing to wait another decade because I've lost so much time enjoying this stuff, in my opinion. I got into this so late that
I definitely I don't do complete toy lines. I'm not a fan, as somebody brought up quite eloquently. I cherry pick. So there are some McFarlanes like the Swamp Thing and other monster pick. If it's a good figure, I'll pick it up. But I don't have to have everything in the line. I don't collect it all. I have some Mezcos I really enjoy, but Mezco's finicky because the cloth goods work great for some figures, but not every figure. So if that figure works for that line, then I'll look at it. Same thing with Mofex or SH Figure Arts. I don't get everything. I can't afford everything. But if it's a really good character and it's done well, yep.
And Largo just unveiled the real reason that I decided to get the deluxe Mezco Spider-Man last year, even though I had one already, because it's like, well, if that breaks, what do I do? And so you get another one just in case, and the price was right, because those go for a lot more now.
Right.
It is another challenge as far as what we get out of collecting. If you're a kit basher or a customizer, you like making your own custom figures, the exclusives, the FOMO, all the other bells and things that these people do that drive me up the frickin' wall. It's like, back in the day, you'd get a season's worth of figures. Usually around November, a line would say, okay, here's what's coming out for the Christmas season. And those toys would be available for several months, sometimes the whole year. So if you wanted to do some customizing, you could say, hey, I'm going to pick up XYZ figure and I'm going to kit bash it. Oh, I need a second or a third one down the line.
Yep.
Nowadays, if you go to some places like Pulse or other...
You better get them now.
Yeah, it's either get it now or forget it, or pay crazy
get it now, or you buy it at
prices.
Ollie in 6 months.
Well, there's that too. Yeah.
Well, right.
Well, and then you had the lines like Kenner had Star Wars. They released that same freaking Darth Vader from 78 all the way to 85.
Straight
The
through.
same Chewbacca, the same Stormtrooper, etc., etc. And that was awesome. Every year those figures came out. Every single year.
And to a certain degree, they still do that with like Stormtroopers, which, as an example, although they will update articulation and manufacturing, which is nice.
Yeah. Change the card.
Right, but for example, they just they're going on round 2 of New Hope stuff, which is like, why didn't you get it right the first time? But okay, whatever. But they're putting out Stormtroopers again, finally, because I've been like, I started doing Star Wars pretty early. And I said I'm going to do a slow build of the 1/18th scale stuff, but I really like the vintage collection stuff because it just looks that much better. And versus getting vintage stuff, the price is right. So it's like, okay, but Stormtroopers are always this like coveted thing, which is fucking hilarious to me. In a modern world where people troop build, why you don't make the Stormtroopers that much more available? Like, it is beyond me. So when they announced the pre-order, I pre-order 6 on Big Bad. I pre-order 6 on Amazon. And I also told all my local friends, you see one, you grab it. Don't ask me any questions. Just get it. Because I want a legion, not a legion, like maybe a good squad.
An entire legion of my best troops awaits them. Yeah.
Oh, I'm afraid.
Why didn't someone in 1979 say, maybe we should do like 3 to 5 packs of Stormtroopers?
Right.
Yeah, they did it once. And those sold out like crazy. And it just
And that's
also,
why we really enjoy lines that get it right. You know, I will constantly sing the praises of Bobby Valla. He put out troop builders. He put out inexpensive troopers for kit bashers and for army builders, and he made them available. And they're still available. They don't sell out as quickly. They do. You know, production
And then when
runs
he
do run
caught
out.
shit for not putting weapons with him, he fixed that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
our
on top of
buddies
that, and then expanded the weapons line with even more packs, different color themed packs and shit like that. Like the guy
dare
knows what
say
he's
to
doing.
make up for the shortcomings of another company's line so that you could augment those dollies with better weaponry. It's crazy how that works.
The funny part to
I
me
mean,
is
those
that
dollies from that line I have all have those weapons.
Yeah.
And it's
And what we're seeing with Delta 17 now, there's 1, 2, 3 army builders in the first wave that are readily available for people who want to make, you know, their world building. That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I think that this also kind of comes back around to one of the kind of the bastions of what makes collecting more stressful than it should. We saw some of the exclusivity with around the turn of the century with Toys R Us and so forth, but you could go to a Toys R Us and there was better than a 50-50 chance they were going to have it in stock. If not, there was a Toys R Us within 20 miles you could probably go to, and that'd be fine. But when you have like a Target, Walmart exclusive in a world with eBay, with resurgence of collectors, like it doesn't happen. I think that there is really a space. I've said it before, I'll say it again. You take a GameStop kind of approach where you do video games, you do toys, and you do nerdy collectibles and make it a chain. Like GameStop has the power to do this. They're trying to figure out how to keep their shit going. And they still call themselves GameStop, but will still have collectibles in there. And they're one of the best places to find superpowers, for example, because people don't think about it. And you'll go there and holy shit, there they are. And they're a good place to pre-order toys from as well, because they do tend to get stuff in stock. But I think that if we get back to a medium to big box toy store, if it was done correctly, we could see some of this market shift in a direction where you could actually walk in and get a goddamn toy. You can't tell me, because if they weren't seeing the sales numbers, they wouldn't keep putting the stuff out. Therefore... And maybe if you had a toy store that was a destination, it wouldn't end up at an Ollie's, it would just end up there.
The problem I
Walmart
still
and Target,
see,
they don't care about toys.
No,
Right.
they don't.
They don't care about toys at all.
the manufacturers that are in love with these exclusives, gold labels, whatever you want to call them, where a coveted figure that people want, you can only get if you go to a certain store at a certain day during the eclipse with a note from your mom, and you might get it before they sell out.
Uphill, both ways, in the snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dogs and
drives
cats
me nuts.
living together.
Go try to find a
mass hysteria.
McFarlane. Yeah,
It's a big
exactly.
Twinkie.
Go try to find a McFarlane Batgirl from the 66 collection or from the New Adventures cartoon.
Yeah. Right.
You're not gonna. And you know it's a popular character. You know people want it. Why do you make it so hard to get? Why you play hard to get, Toddy? You're killing me here.
Yeah, and then John, World by Cardboard, brings up a great thing. He's a local here. Says Retro Madness, Dallas Vintage Toys, and Holocron are pretty much the only toy stores that he visits. I would add to that in your travels, because it makes a nice loop if you do it right. Empire Toys up in Keller have great stuff. And Keller rhymes with killer almost, because they are a killer toy store. I got a crazy good deal on something vintage the other day from them.
Every time I go through Dallas, I try to go to Dallas Vintage Toys. Every time.
It's a great store. Empire's getting close with that. Holocron being an all Star Wars, nothing but. They have every era. And I've told that story before where I walked in, saw a retro collection for $10, and I'm like, you're out of your mind. And this is when retro collection had just come out. I had no frame of reference. My buddy took me there as a passage of time because I had just moved into this stupid hotel room and I was pulling my hair out. It was just before COVID shut down had hit. And we went there and I walked through. I see everything from vintage to the retro collection, vintage collection, Power of the Force, rare stuff, import stuff, posters. if it had Star Wars on it, they had some representation of it, and it was for sale. That store is amazing. Okay, so he forgot to list it. See, there you go, another thing there. But there's a
And that's
ton of
another value add. What we do as collectors.
Yeah.
If you have access to really good toy collection specific stores,
Right.
not only are you going to find really cool guys who shop there, usually the owners are people you want to know because they care. They understand the nostalgia, but they also understand the love of collecting. So it adds to the experience because
And they'll watch out for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They will.
Yeah. The 3 stores in Albuquerque that I frequent, the only 3 stores, they all know me. I've known them all for a while. They know what I like. They know what I'm after. They'll hit me up and be like, hey, we got this, we got that. Like a lot of my big pieces I got from all 3 of those stores. My General, my boxed 100% complete Kenner Death Star, on and on. Like, yeah. And they know that these toys are going to a good home. And so they're, they want these toys to go to people who are going to be stewards of these pieces of history and love them and take care of them and clean them and dust them every now and again and, put jollies in them and, play with them and stuff. And that's...
Did you have to fill out the adoption papers for your Cabbage Patch Kid?
It's fair. Gojitron has a good point.
Hey, it
here
was a
that
great
says-
gimmick.
Yes. Because I hate the big toy companies still kiss Walmart's ass for the exclusive when Walmart has no clue how to handle, ship, or distribute them. One word, duplico. Okay? That was by far the most prescient of examples of that because no one could get him. And then Mattel had to step in and re-release him on Mattel Creations, not once but twice. And I got lucky. My second Duplico, you see what I did there, just arrived from Mattel Creations today. I got to go get them. So now I have 2 Duplicos, and it's and I'm gonna be like, ooh, I got to get some custom hands that point. I need to get pointing hands for all my Motu dollies because I think I want to have some fun with that. But I wish there was someone out there that did that. But that's okay. I know the people that do that stuff, but I'm getting off track. But the whole exclusive thing, they took it on its head, because like Salzberg said earlier, that he says before it was not a scarcity thing. It's just that's where you went to get it. That's all that meant. It didn't mean, oh shit, you can't get a hold of it. It's horrible. And Goji is saying, and I agree with him, that Target and Amazon improved a little bit, but Walmart is still absolutely horrible. And Worldwide Cardboard mentioning Holocron says one of the managers helped him with his first video on the channel with the Punch-Out book. It was great, very, very helpful. Mom and Pops, cool. I don't talk about them nearly enough. But the reason I don't bring them up so much is because we have an embarrassment of riches here in this area, and not every city has that. Even some really big cities don't have good representation. Robert, what part of the country are you in, Robert?
I am in very tiny town, Appalachia. So there's one good comic shop about a half an hour from me, and that's all.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and they usually carry toys, and that's it.
And that's
most of my stuff comes from like Hella Dope or Nerdzoic.
There you go.
Like that.
Nerdzoic's a great store. I don't talk about them enough. And Ted's 100% correct. Houston has crap for vintage toys. The same as vintage video games, unless you go to a specific couple of mom and pop stores that are just good at snapping them up.
That's crazy because it's Houston. Houston's not a small town.
Well, that's the thing, is that Houston is a large city with a big footprint, but there's lots of gaps. So, there's downtown Houston, and then there's, space. And then there's, communities around it, whereas DFW is very much more like this.
Yeah.
And they care about things like safety and industry and innovation, whereas Houston's like, hey, we got a swamp, NASA's over there, have fun. That's what Houston basically is. But the people down there in that area are wonderful people, great collectors, and every time I've gone down there for conventions and whatnot, It's been really cool. And then you have guys like down in South Texas, like San Antonio and stuff. My buddy Chief, who was in the film with me, he's a toy dealer, and I don't know what kind of back alley deals he's making, but he'll just be like, "Oh, I got this today," and you just see like it's a complete carded collection of name a toy line, and he just happens to have it, and he brings it to conventions and sells it for good prices and everything else. I think everywhere is out there. You know, Jeff saying that Oklahoma City has fantastic toys. Yes,
And
there's
I
a
think
couple really good stores there too.
there is such a thing. There's such a thing as a toy whisperer. You've got guys like Scuba Pete, your buddy Chief. They just know how to find these things in the wild, and it's an impressive skill.
Yeah, but I feel like since I'm not one of those, and even my boys in the Game Chasers, like they have made a career out of showing that they don't get something every time, and they go to all the estate sales, the garage sales, the flea markets, and everything. And I'm like, I've watched my very good friends go through this. I'm like, why would I do that? Like, why would I go to that length? Once in a while, you'll find something, but here it's gotten pretty dry lately. So like those mom and pops become a thing. But that's why I try to draw everyone here, because maybe if we go out in force, maybe that'll kind of, you know, for example, if we kneecap a couple of these resellers, maybe they'll stop going to the Targets and Walmarts that are near our house.
Find some scalpers and go, "Hey, you, come here.
Well,
We gotta
if
talk."
there's six of us and we surround them, and something just happens to happen to their knees, and then the security comes over, is like, well, I didn't see anything. It's like the ending
fell
of
down.
Roadhouse. It's like the ending of Roadhouse, but in a toy aisle.
A bear fell on me.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
And see, that's where I kind of feel I'm released from the burden, because anything that I'm going to purchase or that I still feel like need to, I'm not going to find at a Target or a Walmart or a Walgreens or an Amazon or a Nerdzoic. I do buy stuff from Hella Dope because it's, you know, Ted and Aaron, and they started carrying 118 stuff. So I was like, you know what? I will buy all that shit from you. And I don't sweat it. You know, I still have that thrill of the hunt because I go into brick and mortar mom and pops, and that's 90% of where I shop. I do hit the eBay, of course. And I go in these stores and I just hunt, you know, and sometimes I find the diamond in the rough, and sometimes I walk out empty handed, but it's fun. Like, it rekindled my love of hunting for toys at toy stores.
Yeah.
Not where, like, you know, somebody in hot pants who shouldn't be wearing hot pants is buying a freaking laundry hamper. No.
Yeah, and I definitely feel that way as well when I get to go out. It is difficult for me to get out of the house sometimes. Between honestly, getting on the road in this town sometimes will give me a panic attack. I got to pull over because the traffic can be bad. And you know, that combined with some other factors, it's like I don't always get to go out as much as I would appreciate getting out there. But I'm working on that with exercise and so forth, because I've already lost like 10 pounds or so in the last couple months. I'm getting to a place where I think that the physical will influence the mental, because if your blood pressure is down naturally at a lower level, the anxiety won't kick up as much, or if it does, it won't shoot you to this place where you think, "Ugh!" You know.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like I'm at a place, no pun intended, like not literally, but it's like I have to do things remotely and rely upon the vigilance of others to get to where things are. And when the day does come, which may it come soon, that I'm comfortable enough to just hop in the car and just go whenever I feel like going, my perspective will change quite a bit. But the last time I was in Dallas Vintage, I was in this aisle, and they had a bunch of Power of the Force stuff all boxed, and they had like a whole, like the length of this desk plus, like 8 feet plus, just boxed TIE fighters at $20 a pop. And I was like, dude. And this wasn't that long ago. This was like 2022. So I guess it is a little bit long ago, 2 years ago. But I was just like, how could you afford to do that. They're like, we have good sources, and we're not going to gouge you just because we make you make a 10% or a 20% or whatever. But the point is, we get you. If we can get you into the common stuff that isn't worth a crazy amount and give you a good deal, you're going to come back when we have something that is worth a lot of money, and you'll trust us to come back. And the honesty of that statement really resonated with me, where they said, look, if you see that we price fair even when something is $1,000, you know we're charging fair market value without gouging. And it's a good business model, and not every shop does that. And certainly when it comes to, like, with the modern market, you know, there's certain things that, if you're a superpowers collector, for example, with Todd McFarlane having this new line, there are figures you're not going to get unless you go through a custom place or whatever. And then at that point, James Salzberg tips $2, says congrats on 10 pounds. And I say, thank you. Appreciate that, brother. I really do. But I think there's so much nuance to all of this, where I do have envy of vintage-only collectors. Like, for example, you know, John saying with vintage, there's little to no fear of missing out. You can just always find something somewhere. Just requires patience and, you know, your willingness to pay a certain price.
Yep. And this is something that Chad brought up, I think, when he was talking with Michael. There's a funnel of your collecting because vintage is finite. When you get to that point where you only need a left-handed cadiddle hopper from 1982, and that's the only thing you need to complete, they're great. Yeah. When you need that to complete that corner of your collection, you know, you're not going out and finding that very often. It definitely becomes almost a grail item because it's a very difficult thing to find. You have to go to, you know, certain conventions or certain collectors or certain mom and pops that are going to have those things. So when you're looking for that next thing to collect that has a value, if you're going to go beyond vintage to things that either are nostalgia-esque, that are new but have, you know, touch that or scratch that edge, how do you, you know, whether it's budgetary or shelf space, or case in point, Fallout is great. I remember playing it back in the day when Fallout and Fallout 2 came out. Now there is immediate connection to it. From what I hear, people really like the show. We're probably going to see, but there's probably going to be some action figure connection. Hopefully it'll be done by somebody who doesn't do it poorly, but you know, that opens up a whole new door. It's like, oh, if you have nostalgia for Fallout, suddenly you're going to be looking for Nuka-Cola stuff and, you know, some of the crazy, if you're, you know, Funko stuff that came out or whatever. So now some of that's quasi vintage because it's from 10, 15 years ago. Now there's going to be a market for that. Maybe there wasn't. So
right, and I think you have to learn to read the room sometimes. For example, so like when The Last of Us television show came out, I was like, okay, is there anything that I can anticipate that I might want before it gets too crazy? Because weirdly enough, the video game collectible market is it depreciates a lot faster than a lot of other stuff, in a good way.
Really?
So you can get stuff.
Oh, okay.
Depending upon what it is, you can get it super cheap. Like I have,
because it seems like that's the trend now. We've mined all the comic book nostalgia. Now it seems like the video game nostalgia is where we're going. Maybe I'm wrong, but I see that.
It's always been a thing, but I think for the more modern gaming, that it's now coming into its own. Okay, so we're into the PS3, PS4, PC collectibles realm. But like a Destiny 2 collector's edition that I got for $200 when it released is barely worth $40 now, for example. And it's got some really cool stuff. It has has an actual full-blown laptop bag that has a solar charger in it, and
nice.
It's on top of many other things in there. But it's like that bag alone is probably worth $100 of that $200 because of what it's made of and what it has in it. People don't, you know, look at it that way per se, or like things that are super exclusive don't really stay that way once they're on the aftermarket. But with Fallout, like JLS is saying that McFarlane has some 6-inch Fallout at this point, since they have Lucy, Maximus, and the Ghoul. I think that there is definitely a market for that, and I do think that you might have hit the nail on the head. That might be the next big market to tap for toy lines. I think that you could easily, they've had a great line of Halo in the 1/18 scale, 4-inch scale for a long time, and I think that probably someone needs to take a closer look at that. And they I think, was it Jack Specific or was it
Jazzwares?
Yeah,
Jazzwares.
They should probably take the greatest hits as far as, like, let's get a Master Chief, let's get all the different enemy types, let's take all the vehicles we already have these molds for, let's reissue them in a dedicated line, because it was it seemed haphazard with the way they were releasing stuff. But if they went really focused on it now, because they just had this Halo TV series, which for most sources kind of sucks, but that's okay, it's whatever. I
couldn't get through the first episode, but
I'm not even going to touch
It's like,
it.
keep your frickin' helmet on, knucklehead. Anyway,
Right.
That seems to be a trend of not keeping helmets on. in
They
certain
made
things.
them like the bad guys.
I know.
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
What is it with the multiple scale thing too? It's like, pick a frickin' scale and then do it. Don't try to do 4-inch, 6-inch, 12-inch, and nothing goes together, and vehicles only go with one particular phase of your line, and a cool character you really want to go with your vehicle you can't get because they only did it in the 6-inch part. It's like, stop it.
Right.
Just
Yeah, because
stop
what
it.
if they did a dedicated Halo line, and this did the Warthog, you do the tank, which name escapes me, you've got the Banshee, you've got their tank as well, the Alien Covenant, then all the different versions of the Covenant and all the different
Scarab?
colors of the armor.
I think
Scarab. Yep, Scarab.
Yeah, I think Scarab.
All just do all that stuff, which is, we're talking maybe a half a dozen vehicles, maybe including.
could you
the
imagine a
variants, maybe.
1/18 scale Halo Pelican?
Ooh,
Oh, yeah.
I would
be
dump
huge.
money on that
That's
thing.
that's the drop ship, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily a drop ship. It's more like a
troop transport.
Yeah.
it's kind of
kinda,
not
sorta.
the same. But also thinking about the drop ship from the Sulaco, I would pay mad money for that because Jim, like you were just discussing, you're over here, like you were just discussing with GameStop. I picked up that frickin' Haya true 1/18 scale Alien APC with all the lights. Gorgeous, from GameStop.
Yeah, and it's one of those that used to be. GameStop used to be as ubiquitous as Starbucks, and they're not anymore, and that's a good thing. But they're not as popular as they used to be because physical media is going out the door, and they're trying to supplement it with toys, but they're not doing a good enough job of marketing that. So that it's kind of become like that secret place you go when all else fails, and it seems to be working. But there's a lot of things GameStop represents from a gaming perspective that I hate. But as a business, it's like, well, if you're already going to be carrying toys, let's prop you up a little bit and give you some space to grow. And hopefully you can become this thing that you're trying to be and do it right. And then now I've got a place where I can... Because GameStops, even though they're a chain, you can get to know people at GameStops, and they will look out for you and help you out.
Yep.
And it's one of those resources that I think most people have access to, that maybe they don't think about it when it comes to just cool collectibles and shit.
When I
That's
was
another-
down on, sorry,
I was
Jim,
gonna say, that's another head scratcher with Haya. What the APC, beautiful piece, but they didn't create the entire all the Marines. They did a couple of Marines that were from some of the games, but not from the Aliens film itself.
Right.
So it's like you can't fill it with the proper guys who were in the film. It's a good piece by itself, but it's like, and then Haya does some other things like that with some of their other lines. It's like, here's some key characters you really like, but we're not going to do the whole line. What are you
right.
thinking? Yeah,
Like I have
can't
the
give you a whole
Haya-
team.
I have one of the Haya Xenomorphs, and it's one of my favorite figures in my collection.
They're
And
good.
I know that they've done a bunch of stuff, but I don't think they did any of like the whole line of Space Marines. They really should. And with other modern lines, like Logic Blaster's bringing up they hopes for more X-Men '97 figures because the show is going well, and more action figures would be great. The only problem I find with that is that the version of Magneto you would get is not a classic Magneto, which I think is a miss. But you should have both. I should get both. Just like with the 6-inch version of that line, we did get a classic Magneto. I'm like, finally, I can get a classic Magneto. Yoink. And that's where I'm getting my Nightcrawler from. And that's where I'm getting a Wolverine from, even though I already had one. I can't stop. Wolverines are Spider-Man to me. I have like 5 Wolverines now, 6 maybe.
Snake Eyes.
Right, hey, dude, I've got 2 or 3 of them too.
Don't worry, Marvel Legends will give you 6 more Wolverine by the end of the year.
Well, I don't buy every single
Yeah,
one.
they just announced one today.
They did. The thing is,
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for the classic yellow and blue costume, the gold and red costume. I like a lot. Not as much, but I like I've told you this story before, Largo, over many a beer. But one of the things I want to do with one of my many Spider-Men and that particular Wolverine that I have is I want to recreate a small diorama of a specific version of the cover for the trade paperback of Spider-Man versus Wolverine, where Wolvie is clawing down as he's running and Spidey's upside down, kind of has his hand on his shoulder, is jumping away. In the background, you've got you've got the Berlin Wall and some razor wire. Like, I want to do that. You know, these are little, you know, when you give me a 2 to 3 car garage full and I'm going to make some diorama space, it's going to be fun, boys. It's going to be so much fun. Can't wait. You know, and then I'll take a cue from you and actually display the comic behind it and all this shit. I got ideas.
Every shelf can tell a story. It's beautiful.
That's right. That's the idea. That's the idea. World Meta Cardboard says, vintage example, I just found a cardboard playset for the lowest price ever, but for shipping, the seller wants 3 times what the cost should be. That is a problem as well. Zazel is in the house, by the way. Welcome back to the show. As
great show earlier today on Delta 17, showing them some love.
And JLS Comics is here too. I didn't actually call them out by name, but they're here as well.
I got to step away, so I'll catch you guys later,
Yes,
okay?
Cheers,
Good to see you,
Appreciate
Robert.
you, brother.
Good seeing you guys.
Bye,
All right,
Robert.
we'll talk. Bye.
So, I figure we can start to wind this down a little bit because we have been going for quite a while. But I'm going to try to wrap this up a little bit. So obviously we love it for the nostalgia. We love it for it fuels a certain energy in us, as we've discussed. But it also there are going to be stresses and toils that come with, as we've been grumpy old men discussing for the last half hour plus. But yet we still persevere. So what I tend to do, if I'm at this desk in this room, or if I'm walking around the house and I'm a little stressed, I find there are days that I don't walk into this room beyond the threshold, but every day when I wake up, I turn all the lights on in this room every day. Yep. Because if I need a pick-me-up, I can just walk in and just look at a shelf or two and be like, okay, today's going to be fine. Or if I'm worried about, or I hear about an exclusive or some shit that pisses me off, I can walk and be like, well, I got several hundred of these other dollies. I'll be fine. I'm okay. Do you guys have a similar kind of stress release with that, where you just turn around and look at your toys and just go, man, this is awesome?
Yeah. It's kind of like the Hitchhiker's Guide. Don't panic, written real big in comfortable letters on the cover for a reason. What would be my touchstone? Probably the TARDIS. I have a TARDIS upstairs in my bedroom. I have another one here in the lair. I have a couple kind of in different spots. That's always been my thing, because no matter how kerfuffled the universe gets, the Doctor just kind of handles it. So he's always been my go-to for, and it follows in my collection. I'm a Whovian. I don't apologize. Although Doctor Who's dead to me after the 12th Doctor. They just, God bless Capaldi. He tried. I liked him as an actor. Everything after that just went downhill. And it's the writers, not the actors.
Yep.
And I would say that's true for any modern pop culture. Look at the writing first. And if the writing sucks, any other complaints are moot.
Yeah. I come in here every day, obviously, because I don't do much. I'm in here every day. I mean, there's always lights on in here, but customizing toys, playing with toys, taking them apart, putting them back together, it's very calming for me. So I just put something on in the background and listen. It's always YouTube, right? It's always a channel of someone we know or whatever, and that's what's always on in here. Or maybe I'll sit in here and play a video game or something. But I tend to not worry about what's going on in the now with toys because I don't collect current day toys for the most part. I mean, I do, but you're probably talking less than 10% of anything I go after. So I don't sweat any of that stuff. There's none of those stressors for me. I like it like that. It's like that for a reason. It's just my personal opinion, which I never project onto other people, and I don't ever fault someone else for their opinion. But I don't see the soul in toys that are released today that I see in toys from decades ago. I don't see it.
I would actually agree with that. I would also say that it presents the opportunity to put soul into them by the way that you revere the character on the display, because I feel like they're grasping for a certain nostalgia with certain retro card releases and things like that, and that's great. I like it. I do see the influence, but I don't get the same awe that I once did. The closest thing to that for me would be like the Origin stuff, because it's nearly so one-to-one with the old stuff that it has that vibe. But even then, it's not exactly the same because it does come with these things. But to compound and re-ask the question, if you get a piece of bad news, you stub your toe, or you find the milk's gone bad, does walking into that room and taking a look at some of your toys once in a while, does that kind of like take the edge off a little bit?
I'm actually the opposite of that. If I'm in a shit mood, I don't want to come out here.
Okay.
Like I want to kind of go do something else. And I like being in this room when I'm in a certain way. But
Yeah.
if I'm angry or frustrated, I'm not like, I'm going to go to the Joe room. Like there are times I'll come out here and just sit at the desk in the quiet, but I don't want to manipulate and handle my toys when I'm in a bad mood.
That's fair.
Yeah. And I get that
for
part of
me,
it, for
because
sure.
Doing the YouTube and the layer has kind of become my HQ for that. There are days I don't like coming in here because it reminds me of all the things I've got on the docket that haven't been done yet. And it's like, I don't want to think about it. I'm going to go find something else to do.
I got to do a video when we're done.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah,
don't have to. I choose
upstairs
to.
I have a glass case. It's got like my choice mezcos and some of my other special dollies. Yeah, that's kind of my touchstone. I see that when I get up in the morning, make my coffee. It's like, yeah, I'm glad I have these. They're cool.
The last 4 months for me have kind of been like I'm retraining my brain of how I look at this room and how I look at this collection, and I'm trying to stop beating myself up for it not being what it should be. And it is again, I've got all these stuff boxed. There's dioramas that are ready to go.
Oh, that's what you mean.
Get stuff out of boxes and shit. Like these 3 shelves, like
Should be what it is, right?
Right? Like my father-in-law was down here a couple weeks back, and along with my mother-in-law and my brother-in-law as well. Which that kind of was, you know how like you have like the scales that kind of go like this. They're kind of going like this, and whatever side is joy, let's say it's this hand, when they came in and they reacted to it, it just went like that. The joy became much heavier in a good way.
I do get something similar with people here because most people here didn't grow up with a lot of commercial toys.
Right.
So when I have somebody that comes over the house that I like, I'll take them into the lair. It's like, come with me.
Right.
You can see. It's like, so Willy Wonka thing is like, I didn't know these things existed. It's like, I know. They're cool, right?
And but what I'll say is that because I've had plenty of people in this room. People come to visit from time to time, and they're all like, oh, wow, this is great. And that's awesome. I like that they like it, but no one seems to understand that I'm like, yes, it's organized, yes, it looks pretty, but it's not what it could be. And my father-in-law came in here and he's like, I love the organization. I love how the colors blend. And then he kind of turns to me and goes, does it ever drive you nuts that you have like some He-Man here and some He-Man here and some He-Man over here? I'm like, all the time. I have to explain to him what it's going to be because I can't wait to see them. Like, it'll be done before you come down next time, kind of a thing. Because he saw it for what it was, but saw what it could be, and then we bonded in that moment. And I was like, oh, so like having someone share that understanding of like, I see where you're going, was like, okay. And it's something happened in that moment, and that's kind of where like those superpower shelves come in. Like, they're finally here. Like these shelves over here, which you can't see on camera right now, folks. Sorry, but this is where the whole dream started, and I've got like this plan with the tile game of how I'm gonna pull this down, pull that down, then move this here. I can get these shelves done in a day if we really just sit down, wake up at a decent hour at the same time and work together to make it happen, and not make this tremendous mess that will take 3 days to clean up.
Yeah.
But it may take us a while to get to a place where that day can be set aside, but when it does, it's going to be like a huge spark that and then it all will just start going. So it kind of brings me to this idea that when you start out a collection, you think there's a goal. Just like with life, you think there's like this one thing, if I get this, I'll be happy. The collection is informing life for me at this point, where it's reminding me like, dude, yeah, you acquired the dollies. But even once you display the dollies, you're going to fiddle with them. You're going to play with them. You'll be doing more photography. When a new dolly comes in, they'll go on the shelf, and it'll be more of a joyous thing in that regard. But it will always move. It will always change, just like life.
It's a living, breathing thing because it's the caterpillar effect. If my shelves are pretty full and I have to put a new vehicle playset, couple of figures, and I put them here, well, then everything's going to kind of move over a little bit. Mm-hmm. And you're always going to rearrange and repose. And, plus there's dusting. So, you always rearrange stuff with that too.
And, you guys may have touched on this before, but thinking overall, big picture of modern day collecting, one of the things I think has replaced some of the joy for me is seeing these smaller companies that are coming together, doing things well. AWOC and the guys involved with that, Action Force and Bobby, Delta 17 and Steve and Ken and those guys, and several others. It's a whole different experience because now we're getting to see more of not just, okay, here's a cool product I really enjoy. Here's the guy who thought of it. Here's the guy that helped him take that thought and get it to a factory in reality. We're watching the organic process of these things being created. So it's almost like we're more invested in some of these, be it a Kickstarter or, a bootstrap organization that says we're going to make this thing. That's exciting. And to me, it's a different aspect of collecting that we didn't have 10 years ago, maybe. And there's something to that. So, but again, it doesn't mean that everything these guys do, I have to have everything in the collection, but it does give me more incentive to promote and enjoy lines when there's people behind them I like, and I like what they're trying to do. So it's like if I have a choice between big box XYZ Mattel faceless corporate thing or something that a guy started in his garage and made into a company, I'm probably going to go with that guy.
Yeah, I'll back a passion project, especially if it's someone I know on a personal level. I'll back that before I go to any other store any day. Yeah,
absolutely. So I think it's safe to say that we do this because we love it, and honestly, that was the answer all along. I just like to take a long way around to get there because that's how this show works, guys. We have this conversation, but. And the future of it is bright as long as we continue to engage with each other and share joy, because there's plenty of toy lines out there that any of us that have been on this panel or in the audience collect that others may not, but it's still fun to see people's eyes light up when they get something that they enjoy. I mean, Squigs the other day just messaged me It's an old NES game called Trog, and it was based on an arcade game, and I have it. And I was like, I got it right there. You can pull it off the shelf. If you want to play it, we'll play it right now. And he just, well, no, I want a boxed copy because that game was really special to me as a kid. And I'm like, they're not that expensive. He goes, no. I said, no, that's a pretty common game. I bet you can find a box copy for probably less than $80 in really good condition. Maybe
That's a
even
good
50
price.
if you find the right thing. But again, this is a game that is not that sought after. So when
Right.
you do find, because gaming is a little bit different. But he sure as shit he found it, and he was so happy. He was so happy. And I think as long as those moments continue to manifest in our lives and the lives of people we care about, like that's the best reason to be involved in this shit, as far as I'm concerned. That's the whole reason behind it. So I want to thank you guys for being here, and everyone else that was on the panel. I want to thank everyone who was in the audience. I think we've had a great show. I'm not even going to go back to a one shot because I'll chit chat with you guys for a couple seconds before I let you get to the things you're doing. But folks at home, thank you so much for everything. We love you to death. I love these kinds of shows. We're going to be doing more of these as we go. And you guys take care. In the meantime, may all your card backs be straight. May all your grinds be merry. May you be able to find anything you're looking for at any given time at a price you feel is reasonable. Unless it's your eternal soul, because that's not cool. Take care. We'll see you next week. Cheers.